Another title today, this morning at Spice FM, Mama Justice, I don't mind it.
Joel in Kericho.
Salama sana Heri, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama bwana, mambo namna gani?
Salama kabisa bro.
Mambo ya Inamoi kuliendaje?
Mambo ya Inamoi, vile nilikwambia ndugu yangu, alienda asubuhi na ile gari ya kwanza.
I must have missed it.
So did I.
Even if somebody was to render you irrelevant, there is still work you can do.
Okay, sawa.
I deserve to keep you accountable. You deserve to give me a report. You don't work for me. No, I don't work for you. You work for me.
Do you like that Freudian slip? Lovely, isn't it? Thank you very much.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that sisi ni ng'ombe za baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
Hapo.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, hawa watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
There's a bit of a splish-splash here and there in many parts of the country, and maybe more than a splish-splash. So one thing we're going to get off with this morning is that you must be careful. Seeing puddles of water, be careful before you try to get in through them, because we do not know how deep they are. Some of the things that come with the rains, and we will see heightened levels of traffic because folks are slowing down considerably. Let's look at what's already happening on these streets this morning. Traffic has started early on James Gishuru, looking like it's going to spill over towards Wayakiwe at some point this morning. Jogoo Road is also busy, and we're looking at Juja Road doing the thing already. All right, coming in from the Thika Superhighway, not much going on, but we're likely to see a build-up as you get closer to the Pangani underpass, as usually is the case. The Southern Bypass looks good. Likoni Road drama has not started just yet, but likely to as we get through it this morning. All right, we'll take a look in about half hour, but it looks like we're starting off Monday right, and let's keep it just so. Let's talk on Spice FM, KE on X, and keep things moving this Monday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
November 2023. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Ndu.
Yes.
Your weekend was how?
It was rainy. It was nice. It was breezy. It was all right.
Did it do the things that it was supposed to have done?
Well, you know, here we are, right?
Ndio sisi hawa. Tuko hapa.
So it's good.
Yeah? Yeah. Okay, City?
Like you're maroon,
Yes.
You're marooning.
This is maroon.
You're marooning today.
Oh,
I like it.
Really?
Right.
Niko tu maroon namna hii. Bwana Muga?
Yes, please.
Hujambo?
Fit kabisa.
Weekendi?
Good.
Did the thing?
Yes.
Very good.
Whatever the thing was, I did it.
Very good.
And yourself, you did the thing?
How many kilometers did you walk?
I'm not sure.
How many steps? How do you count? Steps, kilometers?
No, I have the step thing, but the battery died, so I can't tell you steps, but I can tell you where I went.
From where?
You can tell from where? From home?
From my official residence.
You went round.
The up and down. And over the hills and far away.
To the end of the rainbow where you found a pot of gold.
That is the general idea.
Apo.
Yes. But it was good.
Okay.
Very good.
Very good.
That walk, it works wonders, one.
It's idea.
It honestly works wonders. All round, in other words. Yes.
Very good.
And how are you?
Mimi niko poa. Edna is back.
I'm telling you. There is joy down in my heart.
Where?
Down in my heart.
Where?
Down in my heart. Joy down in my heart. Edna is here to stay.
Edna, mambo vipi? Come and give City a hug.
I've already been given a hug.
No. This one is another one.
I have been given a hug.
Hapana, you have not.
Edna, do not move. Just stay exactly where you are.
There's never too many hugs. Okay, come give me a hug.
Come and give Eric a hug.
Yego, fanya namna hiyo.
Eddie's back. Guess who's back? Banana. Eddie's back. Banana. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? You're even removing the headphone. Eddie.
Say hello. Say hello to everybody. Hi. Say good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Ulikuwa umeenda wapi?
Mombasa ndani ba. Nilipelekwa actually.
Ulienda na King?
Mimi ndo Majesty number.
Wewe ndio Majesty number.
Your Royal Highness.
Your Royal Highness. Karibu.
But I missed you guys.
We missed you too.
Now I'm back.
Karibu sana.
Welcome back.
While I was away, City was well taken care of.
Look at his face.
City.
Yes, please.
You are taken care of.
If she says so, then she must know.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. Well, Edna is back. Karibu sana. You can now tell why we are so happy. Yeah. And a very big thank you to Mumbi for holding forth for Edna when Edna was away. Sasa, let's tell you what we'll be discussing today. Edna, so you do like that then? The thing that you normally do. Higher. At 7 a.m., it's raining. Okay, El Nino, no El Nino, but it's raining. And the weatherman says it's going to rain until January.
People have died.
Imagine. Floods everywhere, things that are happening now. How do we respond to this? The Kenya Red Cross will be joining us in the studio. Caleb Chemirmir is the Public Health Emergencies Manager at the Kenya Red Cross Society. He'll be here at 7 a.m. to talk about a response plan for the ongoing rains. We're calling it El Nino response plan. Let's just call it El Nino, okay? It's just so we are okay, all right? And then at 8 a.m., we'll have this conversation about the economy, how not to bring down the cost of living, layoffs rise to COVID levels on higher taxes, while the shilling has hit 150 and it's sliding to 160. This and the other. Is the shilling going to hit 200 soon? All these conversations, let's bring in the man that people have been asking that he comes back. Jimmy Wanjeke will be back at 8 a.m. to talk to us about this. Let's engage. Okay? Yeah. So it's like that.
Yeah.
Those are the issues that we'll be discussing too.
Today.
Bas. Eco weather,
my friend.
Yeah.
The weather is weathering.
The live stream is up on YouTube and Facebook. If you're online, let's know where you're tuned in from, and then we'll do like that. So soon as Ndu tells us what's happening across the globe, she'll also tell us who's happening across the globe.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Cloudy, drizzly conditions in Nairobi, 16 degrees. We'll see highs of 23 and lows of 15. It's cloudy at 15 in Nakuru with highs of 22 and lows of 14. And we're looking at partly cloudy conditions in Nyeri, going to highs of 23 and lows of 14. All right, clear conditions at 13. Looking into Eldoret, highs of 23 and coming down to lows of 13 with a chance of rain. The sun is starting to creep through in Mombasa at 24 with highs of 29. And we'll see cloudy conditions going to highs of 30 in Malindi through Monday. Into Kisumu, partly cloudy at 19, highs of 27, and Kakamega is cloudy as well at 16, going to highs of 26. Looking into a mostly cloudy Kampala at 17 with highs of 28, and then out into Dar es Salaam, it's also already sunny at 24 with highs of 28 and lows of 24. Looking into a clear Addis Ababa at 11, highs of 23, and it's 25 and cloudy in Mogadishu with highs of 31 and lows of 24. Partly cloudy at 26 in Lagos with highs of 32 and lows of 26, while Johannesburg is mostly clear at 15. It'll go to highs of 27. And looking into a partly cloudy Kinshasa at 23, we'll see highs of 31 back down to lows of 23. Looking into a chilly Beijing, it's sunny though at 7 Monday afternoon, highs of 10 and lows of 1. Paris is cloudy at 9 with highs of 14, and we'll see cloudy conditions in London, currently at 9 going to highs of 13. It's clear in New York Sunday night, coming into Monday, highs of 18 and lows of 6.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Everybody's awake this morning. Don Sabwa says CT, Ndu and Eric, good morning. A year in Malawi, we say chaka. Kindly ask CT to say chaka.
Chaka.
Chaka. And Eric.
Chaka or chaka?
Chaka.
Chaka.
Chaka. And Eric to say mawa. Remember? Mawa is tomorrow.
Mawa.
Remember? Chaka.
Mawa is tomorrow.
Yeah, mawa is
These
tomorrow.
words were
I'm telling you, I think Don changes these words every day and tells us something else.
Mawa is tomorrow.
Thank you. Chaka is.
And Mawe.
What is mawe in Malawi? Chaka is what? I've even forgotten. A year.
Chaka is a year. Chaka is a year.
Mwaka.
Last week, she was telling us about month.
My dear.
It was month last week.
Yes, and there was tomorrow and yesterday and, next month, last month. Abuto Kamla says, good morning to Eric CT. A lovely Monday morning to the resilient in Kenya. Mr. Beast. Haha, you heard of Mr. Beast? CT, have you heard of Mr. Beast?
No, I haven't.
The guy who's digging boreholes. Everywhere you go, water. Eric knows him. He'll tell us in a minute. He just proved that Kenya should be at the level of Singapore. Hypocrisy is the norm with our leaders, he says. Tuned in from New Delhi, Emmanuel says, Ndu, I'm working at the airport. Ah, voila, that makes sense why you're at the airport every morning. You work there. We get it. Carol Nyambura says, good morning. Now, apenda sana to... No, what do we say? Tunakupenda pia.
Yes.
All right. Linus Rainman says, good morning. You're the one who brought all these things. It's you. Wishing you a fabulous weekend. Yeah. Anthony Onyango is connected from Rongo. Something I saw in Rongo the other day. What was that? I can't remember. Anyway, so George Gashoiri says, good morning, Ndu CT and Eric. It's 3 a.m. and I'm all ears. You're in Manchester. Yes, time did that thing, so you're 3 hours behind. Robert Mbogo is tuned in from Mombasa. Abu Dhabi is where Sophia Damari is. And Patrick Courier says, good morning. I wish you all a wonderful week of God's blessings. We receive. Thank you. What you do daily makes a difference and it's of importance. Thanks for the objectivity. Baraka, thank you so much. The 2000, Mr. Beast should be invited. Edna, good morning, he says. Mugwe Wainaina, that's a very nice name, Mugwe. It's very rare. I've never heard it before. Anyway, good morning to the greatest trio tuning from Roiro. Greetings from the rainy Bay Area. It's raining where you are, Wairimo. Well, good morning to you, Karibu. It's almost good nights. We have Miss Edna Yawa. Good morning, guys. Isaac, good morning to you. Bonjour, Spice. Je vous écoute. Oui. Rachel Kano says, good morning. Je vous écoute, rather. Teresia Maveka, good morning, Justice. Écoutez. Teresia Maveka says, good morning. CT, Ndu, Eric, na Edna Pia, Sikunjema, Sante Sana, Justice. Jeffrey Okoff says, good morning. Eldoret is chilly. I don't doubt it. Happy Monday, Team Spice. Athi River tuned in. Kama Kawaida. Edna, welcome back. Diaspora Money says, tuned in from Atlanta. Yes, Wairumo, you fell back an hour. All right, we understand. I know. So it kind of messes with your brain, doesn't it? The president suspended El Nino, Eric. This is what Anthony Onyango is saying. So there's nothing like that.
Okay.
Out the window.
It's just rain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isaac Tuei says, rainy greetings from Lukenya. Fun fact, Wairimo says, Hawaii, parts of Arizona, and half of Indiana do not change time. They've decided you guys can fiddle with the clock. Hey, we're doing it.
They don't save no daylight.
Stay there with your daylight saving. John Waweru says he's tuned in from Baidoa in Somalia. It's also raining hard here, and we can't blame the leaders here. They didn't Tenga na Kupanga funds for countering the rains like back home. Voilà. Good morning, tuning from Mombasa. That's where the dawn is. And engineer Peter Tippis says, good morning from Mawanga in Nakuru County. Please say something about Mr. Beast. Okay. Fadil Ferouz says, good morning. Good morning, guys. Connected from Mombasa is Zachary Odira. And Marley Cotier says, good morning from Eldoret. It rained the whole night. It did. Tales of rain and water and other things. Good morning, everybody. Karibu ni sana.
Kaiser Obed is also awake.
He's awake.
And tuned in. Yeah. City.
Yes, please.
Where to this week?
We are in the Congo.
Which one?
The Republic of Congo.
Okay.
Otherwise known as Congo
Brazzaville.
Okay.
Whose capital is Brazzaville.
Okay. This one that had an emperor?
No. That was Central African Republic. That's their neighbor.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
You're speaking of Monsieur Bokassa.
Bokassa.
Bokassa. Yes, Bokassa was just next door.
Okay.
Kabisa. By the way, there are very few countries that is neighbored like Republic of Congo. You are talking about Angola, DRC, Central African Republic, Gabon, Cameroon, and then to top it off, Atlantic Ocean, bwana.
Allah?
Yes. This country has neighbors. It has very, very, very serious neighbors.
I was going to say, is it landlocked? Then I remember that you said Atlantic Ocean. So never mind.
Landlocked. Apart from the ocean, it's landlocked.
It's landlocked.
Thank you very much.
It's landlocked. Right. I'll tell you more about this republic and even why the name Congo, where it came from.
Okay.
Even without drum beats, banana leaves dance.
Even without drum beats, banana leaves dance.
Yep. We know what they dance to, don't we?
The sway, the wind.
Okay. We shall hear people's interpretation of this.
That we shall.
The headlines.
All right. On the front page of the Standard this morning, how not to bring down the cost of living. That's interesting. We're all looking for solutions, but we said, okay, this is the way not to do it. Economy experts fault the president's approach to taxation and cost of living, saying the policies will only sink the country deeper into mire and push many to avoid paying taxes, which will ultimately make life unbearable. Yeah. So we'll look into details of that. IEBC reforms versus the right of representation. We know that there is no, presently constituted body of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. And there are many mini polls that are waiting to happen. So the big question is, there are polls that are waiting to take place, mini polls, contested polls that we must go back to the ballot. Leaders who were elected and maybe for one reason or other are not in that position by death or otherwise. So the question then is, who will then oversee these polls? Will they happen? Or will we go into a situation where we're denying a fundamental right of votes to the people in that area? So that's one. The winners and losers as dialogue team wraps up. Those talks are coming to an end soon. The leaders in the northeast are calling for help amid flooding. They've understood that, it's been said that El Nino is not a thing. But look, the flooding is crazy, according to what they're saying, and that it's causing a humanitarian crisis and it must be addressed. Story we can't ignore. I mean, this weekend, from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the horrible pictures that we're seeing coming out of Gaza in terms of what's happening and life being lost is not funny at all. Continues to be a headline grabber today. On the front page of The Nation, best 150 MPs. The polls continue. Started off with MCAs, governors, etc. And now we're being told that at 70%, Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro is doing the best, and he's followed by folks in Kangema, Igembe South, Mwingi Central, Hiswero, Kafiani, Homa Bay, Kitui Central, Tetu, all these folks at 65 and above, Kabete. So this is what we are being told. A majority of Kenyans think MPs have performed well since they were elected into office last August, with Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro topping the charts according to a new Infotrack poll. But what have these legislators done to rank so highly? That's the question. Looking at the tickers, impeachment, Kawira's moment of truth as Senate decides her fate. The 2-day impeachment trial begins tomorrow. The weatherman is warning of heavy rains in the country, and the headline is, interestingly enough, El Nino. So CT might hang on to his creed that El Nino never went anywhere. It was here, it was coming, it is here. 9 counties record surge in new HIV cases. 17,680 are the new HIV infections among adults. 41% were aged between 25 and 34. We're looking at the National Syndemic Disease Control Council has flagged Homa Bay, Siaya, Kisumu, Migori, Kisii, Mombasa, Samburu, Vihiga and Uasin Gishu as the most affected counties in its latest report. So the New York City Marathon took place yesterday and Helen Obiri came out tops. It was good to watch. Too strong in the women's race is what it's being called as that headline. It was a great race. She did phenomenally well and voila, there she is.
Obiri. The Business Daily. Layoffs rise to COVID levels on higher taxes and fuel costs. Kenya's unemployment crisis deepened further in October after companies cut jobs at a rate last witnessed at the peak of COVID-19 pandemic, when businesses resorted to layoffs, salary reductions and unpaid leave to stay afloat. Findings of Standard Kenya's Purchasing Managers Index, based on feedback from about 400 corporate managers, suggest the job cuts are in response to flagging sales, which prompted a further downscaling of output levels. 1.72 million workers lost their jobs at the height of the COVID pandemic. How's it doing this time? That's a story in the Business Daily. That's a front big story. 42% of foreign investors flee NSE in 9 months. 6,256 foreign investors fled the NSE across 9 months to the end of September. The exit, which is equivalent to 42% of the total foreign investors at the Boers, mirrors the sharp negative returns from the market, with the NSE market capitalization falling to an 11-year low of 1.33 trillion as of last week. Ticker headlines. How state agencies will share seized dirty cash. 2 enforcement agencies will be among the beneficiaries of dirty cash seized by the state, meaning that forfeited monies will no longer be held at a KCB account but the Asset Recovery Agency. Another headline here is that restaurants are moving away from outsourcing delivery services from third parties in favor of their in-house deliveries as they move to cut out middlemen in a shift that could affect established players such as Bolt and Uber. So restaurants are now buying their own bodabodas and hiring their own bodaboda riders. So when you order, they'll now deliver to you so that they can cut down. I don't see the business sense in this, though.
I don't understand.
Yeah, so this is a restaurant.
Yeah.
Instead of, so they instead of signing on to Bolt, Uber Eats and such, they will have their own bodas.
Oh, right. So they deliver for you. You don't.
So they deliver for you. So you do direct. So they're cutting out the middleman.
Does it do anything in terms of shillings and cents, really?
I don't know. Oh, how costly inputs have choked productivity in Kenya's agriculture? That's the other headline. City.
Yes.
What's in the Star?
In the Star, in the top right-hand corner, in teal green.
Yeah.
No rift. Rift, not as in Rift Valley. As in
rift alone.
As in different. Yes, rift.
Okay.
We are good. DP Gachagua dismisses talk of fallout with Ruto. The lady does protest too much. Backlash. Right. MPs have previously accused pollster of skewed polls. hold that thought as I look at others and get back to it.
Okay.
Azimio MPs back Kalonzo for 2027 polls. That is a section of Azimio MPs have rallied behind Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka to fly the coalition flag in 2027. Okay.
Right.
Assuming that he will be battling with President William Ruto.
Right.
Justice served. Man 70 gets his land after 10 years battle with 2 state agencies. So man, this is Mombasa. The name of Brek Sulum Hemed. This guy had bought land for a gentleman called Swalenguru. And this land, CDF and I think was it Kenya decided that land they could encroach on it. Went to court. 10 years down the line, the judge said, no. This is land. You guys, interlopers, out. They're encroaching on his land. Right. Big names miss out as MP Nyoro tops new ranking. Infotrack report mentions only top half of performing lawmakers, meaning bottom half not mentioned.
Okay.
Yes. State urged to act fast before lives are lost. Now, this is with reference to not just the heavy rain, the torrential rains that are now visiting the country. Yes. And all the pictures you see, whether it's a football game, people are drenched. Whether it's something that was once upon a road, it's like a river. It's water everywhere. Now, all the preparation that we had been told that, yes, in readiness for the heavy rains, let's wait and see how they pan out. Were we not told? Preparations.
Do we have to wait and see, really?
Yes.
Gong River broke, what do they call banks? Nakuru. And Nakuru feels the effect of it coming all the way, and now people are, yesterday.
They're living in water.
Yes, yesterday.
Swimming in water.
And we are told this is not El Nino. So what would have happened if the real El Nino
what do they mean
came and stood up?
Yeah, I have referred to it as heavy rains because my understanding of El Nino and clearly the understanding that seems to be generally accepted are at variance.
Wallahi.
Because if it rains heavily within a certain period, or if it doesn't, what I'm asking is, must El Nino happen between a certain period?
No, I actually don't think.
Because this is irregular.
Downgraded. This is El Nino. Because if we're looking at what they say happens, true. It's a phenomenon where temperatures are warmer, and because of that, the moisture then increases within the atmosphere, and then now
raindrops.
Rain. And we think that it's heavy floods like Noah. Every day, blah, 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 like that. Actually, it's not. It's this thing that we saw on Saturday when it was raining for 20 hours straight in drizzles. That's what it is. Because then what happens is that you have a collection of water in places over time that can be measured in inches. And that's what causes a problem.
And then that water, the drip, that thing is soaked. It's absorbed. It's not the rain that washes up the top soil and it's not that one. Anyway, here we are. There had been preparations, there had been mention of preparations. Goody. Let us see how these preparations are prepared, shall we?
Kabisa.
And we'll be looking at it bit by bit. I'm sure the Red Cross will come and tell us what they have done, what they plan to do, etc. But these ones are heavy. I mean, all over the country.
There are places that have not witnessed a drop of rain.
Like where, for instance?
In this country. Like Kimana.
Yes, that is also El Nino. Now I'm convinced it is El Nino.
24 minutes to 7.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start.
Okay, a few minutes towards the top of the hour, and we're seeing a little bit of a difference in terms of traffic. It's busy on Jogo Road, coming off of Thika Superhighway, some as well, which we knew was going to happen as you get closer to the Pangani underpass. Right, so there are parts within Kabete, Spring Valley, coming in from Peponi Road, General Madenge, which are waterlogged, right? So folks are already complaining about that. So everybody's going to go a lot slower than they would normally. So because of the water, I would urge the same, that please move a little bit slower. But because of that waterlogged situation, you're going to have to move slower. All right, it's going to cause some traffic, so we be ready for it. And if you want to leave earlier, please, now would be the time to do so. Sawa. We're also looking into the CBD, where a lot of this is happening, and it looks like it'll be there for some time. We're probably not going to see much more movement until well after 7 o'clock, so we'll be here for it. Let us know what's happening where you are. We'll talk on Spice FM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Story. How not to bring down the cost of living. It's carried on page 4 and 5 of the Standard. If I can find page 4 and 5, usually comes after 3. Okay. Now, the state must look at beyond austerity, excessive taxes to boost the economy. What exactly is the impact of the recent tax increments on the cost of living and the general well-being of Kenyans? How do these increments influence the social contract that Kenyan citizens have with the government? According to this story by Arthur Muliro, taxation is a fundamental component of a functioning society. So, does that mean that if society is not functioning as it should be, then you cannot employ taxation to the levels that we're seeing it as a remedy? It enables governments, however, to provide essential services, maintain social order, promote economic growth, and address various societal challenges. It's a crucial aspect of the social contract between citizens and the state. Now, citizens pay their taxes. In return, the state provides essential services. It maintains order. It promotes citizens' overall welfare and development. Citizens also expect that their funds will be managed and disbursed prudently. Now, this is just leaving the painting a picture of the ideal scenario in terms of what should happen. Now, the use of the tax, just going over a little bit, the use of a tax system that citizens perceive as unfair, such as taxing low-income earners at the same rate as high-income earners without providing corresponding benefits, can lead to injustice and social unrest. Excessive taxation can create disincentives, and entrepreneurship, discouraging investment, innovation, and entrepreneurship. This can hinder economic growth, accelerate investment by investors, and lead to stagnation. And what this article is essentially saying is that this is what would point to what could happen if some of these things are not taken into consideration. That if you want to overtax your people, you're going to get to a place where people will stop. People will avoid this tax, and it becomes counterintuitive that you will not be able to achieve the results that you set out to achieve by increasing these taxes in the first place. And that is one sure way to do what? To not reduce the cost of living. So experts are saying that the government needs to look at this very closely in terms of policy to say that if you're increasing taxes across board and you're increasing the rate at which you tax, if anything, what you're doing is that you're getting people to go in the opposite direction of where you would want them to go.
Maybe, what if the intention is for people to go in the opposite direction?
They want to get things to the ground completely?
What is the threshold? What is that threshold?
Of
what's too much?
Well,
are they saying?
No, they don't say. But one thing they say that we're seeing right now, for example, is that when you have small businesses essentially now going away from a mechanized system, like we've seen, where people don't want to use their machines anymore for payment, pay in cash or don't purchase. That's one of the things that you will see. But
why are those companies not doing that?
Why are they not?
Yeah.
Why are they not doing what?
Why are they running away from the mechanized system and all that?
I guess because
has there been an increase to taxation for small businesses? So let's talk about a kiosk.
No, I don't think there's been an increase. I don't actually know.
So what's the
There's
issue?
not been an increase. There has been an introduction for people who didn't pay before. You get it? Yeah, that's it. So people who didn't pay, because now the KRA agents, officials have been going out over the last couple of months and, talking to businesses. We don't have you on our radar. I want to put you on our radar. So they're saying, hey, no, we can't afford this. Because if we take it out of what we are making, we're left with very little. That's been the thing. And then we did see over the weekend news about a pullback by KRA in terms of the way in which they're going to do this, or if they're going to do it anymore, because they realized that there'd been complaints. So what's the threshold? Apparently in this case, it just needs to be that you knock on their door. That's the threshold. You knock on their door and you say you owe us something, and they say, well, we can't.
The question is, are we really being overtaxed?
That's the question. That's what I'm asking. What's that threshold? How do we know that we are being overtaxed? It's the rate versus GDP ratio, right?
This is it.
And they say that ours is, at 13%? So Are we being overtaxed?
But look at what this article says in the very beginning. It's a fundamental component of functioning society. It enables governments to provide essential services, maintain social order, promote economic growth, and address various societal challenges. I do not think Kenya is overtaxed, one. However, it's a quid pro quo that you tax people and that you provide in equal measure, if not over, in terms of these essential services that they need. So the question that ought to be asked is, do we see the other end of the bargain being played out here?
What comes first?
Pay your tax.
Okay.
Right? Then now this other part where, so now what you're saying is pay your tax and let's see if it actually be done. In the event that it is not done, then you may withhold your tax.
But you see, we have something else in this particular discussion. This thing called cost of living. Are we therefore saying that these taxes, which we take the view are elevated and very high, are they saying they are the cause rather, of the high cost of living?
These elevated taxes?
Yes. You see, there are many things happening at the same time. Okay. We have a situation where our shilling is doing a dive. When the shilling does a dive, it means that the fuel which we buy with the dollar eventually costs more. The cost of the dollar may just...
The international price may still be the same.
But here in Kenya, it'll go up. Now, the moment fuel goes up, everything else in this country goes up.
Yeah.
Everything. Yes. So now, when everything goes up, it becomes more and more difficult to actually afford certain basic commodities with the frequency and with the quantity that you previously were able to buy them. And our shilling doesn't seem set to recover. It seems to be diving further. So this is a situation that is not going to get better. And if it does, then will we see a change? You see,
it doesn't look like anytime soon.
You see, the painful discussion here has to do with these apparently correlated issues, taxation, cost of living, and it's discussed under one breath as though it's one and the same thing, and it actually isn't. Not really. And then also, remember, this is against a different backdrop altogether. It's against a backdrop of political promises that many people took to be true now. There's no time that promises sound like the very thing you need, especially when you're going through a hard time. So when you're going through a hard time, you will remember the promises which are supposed to make your life better.
Absolutely, because it gave you hope.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, does it therefore mean that those promises or the lack of the fulfillment thereof are the ones that have caused your problem? No, the promises are an independent quotient. They're just promises. Okay? So what is our reality? Our reality, yes, we do pay taxes, but it's the manner in which we keep financing our budget. This deficit financing, whatever it is called, this thing where we are spending more than we have, and we seem to keep spending more than we have, and the only way we survive is we keep borrowing. This is not going to help us, because the money that would help would be money that was actually there. But if you're using more than 3/4 of your money to pay back loans, how much do you have left?
And for which you can't explain what those loans were for.
So how much do you actually have left to do what you're supposed to do?
That's the question.
And it looks like this amount, if I go by the trends I see for borrowing, this amount is going to get less with time, not more. Yes.
This is a big thing.
It is.
The question that one should ask is, where exactly, forget the academic discussion of where does the money go. Actually, where does this money go? I mean, seriously. There's this 54 billion we're talking of last week.
For education.
Yes.
Where is it?
It was budgeted for. It didn't get to where it was supposed to get. So, if it's sitting somewhere in some account, maybe they should just point us to the account and tell us it is here. Just look, you see, there it is.
Yeah.
But where did it go? And is it the only amount of money that we have questions about? No.
Look, Siti, if it's missing in education, it's missing in other places as well. It's just that the light has not been shown on it yet.
It's bad.
It is. It is bad, terribly, horribly bad.
Let me tell you what's in the papers again also. Page 27 of The Nation today.
Yeah.
Auctions. Page 28 of The Nation today. Auctions. Page 29 of The Nation today. Auctions. Page 30 of The Nation today. Auctions. Page 31 of The Nation today. Auctions. Page 32 of The Nation today. Auctions. Page 33 of The Nation today. Auctions. Page 34 of The Nation today. Auctions. 7 pages. 8 inclusive. Auctions. Huh?
All right.
Distress selling. Left, right, and center.
My goodness. You do have a point. 1, 2.
It's actually 8 pages. Though.
Yep. It's 8 pages of auction.
The Standard has 4 of them.
Auction. And then the Standard has 4.
Yeah, same thing.
Auctions. Yeah.
Actually, if you're looking for a sign, does a sign get better than this one? Because this seems to be an upward trend, isn't it?
Well, there's a story that you want to tell us, City.
Indeed. This is a story in the Star. And this is on page 9. It's about a man 70 years old who actually fought for the battle to recover his land. Okay? Sulum bought the land in Mwembe Tanganyika. There's a place called Mwembe Tanganyika in Mombasa. There's Mwembe Tayari.
Yeah, I was going to say. There's
Mwembe Tanganyika just down the road. Okay? He bought it from a gentleman called Said Swalenguru. Swalenguru is considered to be one of the biggest landowners.
He was the Kirema of Mombasa.
He was bigger than Kirema. But it is a good analogy. Actually, no, I'm not so sure. Yes, he was the Kirema of Mombasa. That's a good analogy. Because the land Kirema owns, wow, God Almighty. Anyway, he apparently has been fighting this battle for the longest time. Now, there's a judge of the High Court, Judge Stephen Murigi Kivunja of the Environmental and Land Court, sitting in Mombasa. He declared that a piece of land, MSA Block XV1, that I think should be 16, 564, which had been bought in 1991 from Said Saleh Guru, was his, and that its encroachment by the National Government Constituency Development Fund Board and the Kenya Rules Roads Authority was illegal. However, in the suit papers, the NGCDF board denied encroaching on the plaintiff's land, saying they were not involved either directly or through the agent, and sought to have the suit dismissed. Now,
NGCDF for which constituency?
This is Mombasa.
Which constituency?
What
area is what? Is that Changam?
No.
It's close to
Nyali.
Central. Between Nyali and
it's central. It's more
Mvita.
That's I was looking for that one. Thank you. It's Mvita. I was about to say Majengo. There's no such place. There's a place, but it's Mvita. All right. Kera also defended itself, saying it was only a project manager due to its technical expertise and sought to have the case dismissed. So the people who were named keep saying they didn't encroach, and yet they encroached.
What did they do with the land?
Okay. He said, what happened was this, Let me read it so that you understand it. The property is an nullity as it was carved out of a road reserve. This is what they were saying.
Okay.
And that the NGCDF board and Kera actions of constructing the road was lawful and had not encroached on Sulum's land.
So they did a road.
They did a road.
And the argument by Kera is that this was a road reserve anyway.
Yes. The court clearly disagreed with them.
Okay.
Yes. Because the road reserve is known.
So they've done a road.
They did a road.
So what does the court now say? Demolish the road or pay the man?
The court is saying that land belongs, that area that is disputed, the one they built the road on, that is not a road. That land belongs to Sulum.
So pay the man.
Pay the man his money.
Yeah, you pay the man his money.
Or return his...
Yes. But I'm sure they're going to go to appeal. They'll go to appeal because that's 10 years. If you add costs and if you add penalties, this is going to be costly for them.
Yeah.
But it's very unlikely it will be overturned in the Supreme Court. By the time something takes 10 years, a lot of homework has been done.
For it to be heard to this level has taken 10 years.
Yes.
Or more.
Back and forth and back and forth. 10 years, which means he started pursuing this thing. He bought it earlier, but started pursuing this thing when he was around 60. Now he's 70. Okay? He started paying for that land in October 2002. The understanding was that he'd be paying it in installments. Okay? So 2002, and now in 2023, that's 20 years down the line from the time he started paying for it. But remember, the ownership was gotten after he had finished paying.
Yeah.
Okay. Right on. Here you are, Iffy.
Weatherman, rains to persist until January. The Kenya Met says Kenyans should brace themselves for more heavy rains over the next 3 months amid flooding and landslides in several parts of the country. In its latest weather forecast, the Kenya Meteorological Department said the ongoing rainfall will continue until January. The director, David Gikungu, said highlands in the west, central and south of the Rift Valley. These guys should now stop telling us highlands, maeneo ya nyanda za juu na nyanda. Just tell us.
Kenya mzima.
Nairobi, Kiambu, highlands in the northwest of Nigeria. What is that? Who knows west of Kenyans? We don't do west things. At the highlands in the west, central and south of the Rift Valley. Tell me a highland in the south of Rift Valley. One. Tell me a highland in the west of Rift Valley.
See, I thought all of Rift Valley was highlands.
Highlands in the west, central and south of the Rift Valley. The Lake Victoria Basin and the southeastern lowlands. Where is this? Is this Kenya?
Where is southeastern Kenya?
Southeastern lowlands are expected to experience rainfall throughout 3 months. I'm
actually very interested in understanding where is southeastern lowlands in Kenya.
Southeastern lowlands?
Yeah.
Hivi Ukambani.
Ukambani here? Oh, okay. Southeastern.
South.
Lowlands.
East. Lowlands.
Got it.
Not even.
Especially now
and
with that
Northwest
Highlands,
west of the Rift Valley. That one is.
I don't know, the west. And the south of the Rift Valley. Just give us names of places we know. Maeneo ya nyanda za juu. Kinangwata Francis and nani used to maeneo ya nyanja za juu. Kutakuwa na mvua ya marasharasha.
No, that is so that wherever it rains, they can qualify. The place we told you.
This is also the same as highlands east of the Rift Valley and the northeastern regions.
They've not already said
so
that.
we have done east, west, south, central of the Rift Valley. See, that's everywhere.
It's Kenya.
Meaning?
Just say
the Rift Valley is the lowest part.
In Kenya.
So
it doesn't sound interesting if you just say that. You
got to sound like you know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Abi?
You're in the Rift Valley. See, the Rift Valley is the deep.
And valley is inside.
Okay?
Yes.
Highlands, west, south, east. It's everywhere surrounding the Rift Valley.
Like Titi said, it doesn't sound interesting if you just say the Rift Valley and its environment.
No, tell us Nakuru, Bomet. Tell us places that we know. So people of Bomet know. Sisi, mvua inakuja.
Sasa mtu anaweza sikia highlands sema sio sisi.
Is Nakuru in the Rift Valley? It is. So is Menengai a highland of the south of the central of the
Menengai is a mountain.
No, nani mountain is Ngong.
Don't know.
Okay.
Crater, Sini crater. Crater
Menengai is a
mountain.
crater.
Nandi Hills, right?
Yes, Rift Valley.
See, they're inside the Rift Valley.
Yes.
So are they surrounding? Are they west, east of? Where are they now? Nandi Hills.
That one is northwest.
What is inside the valley?
Sorry,
northeast. Confusing. The coastal region is also expected to receive rainfall in November, December, and most of January. However, Gikunyu pointed out that the northwestern region is likely to receive rainfall in November and December and remain generally dry in January through a few days. Northwestern region
of the
Kenya,
coast
of Kenya.
Oh, we've left the coast. Okay, sour.
By the way, I think this weather thing must be fun.
It must be fun. Can you imagine them korogang those things in the
Essentially just told you all over the country there will be rain in some places.
Let's mess
and
with
other
these guys
places will be dry. And then in case it is dry, rest assured it's raining somewhere else. And if it's not raining somewhere else, it's dry somewhere else, okay? So just figure it out, north, east, southwest, then mix them up
from
together.
where you are.
That's it. Yeah. Rain.
And they cannot tell you Monday it will rain from 3 p.m. Between now and January, it will be raining.
It's raining. Now, if it rains at 3 o'clock and it's northwest, it's raining. Okay? So that prediction we made for northwest, it has been fulfilled. Anyway, it will be raining at some point.
Manyunyu hapa na pale.
No, manyunyu, this thing.
Mvua ya rasha.
This one.
Mvua ya radi.
Yeah, this mvua is not rasha.
These guys are joking. They should just come to the modern day. Even create an app for KenyaMet that you can look and see, okay, so today in Nairobi, the weather is going to look like this. It will start raining at 7 p.m. So we have those weather apps.
And you can be accurate to the degree. They can.
Yes.
So
this thing of telling us between now and January, it will be raining.
So, okay.
Well, but that's good. It covers, it's called covering your bases.
So you can never say, we didn't tell you.
Yeah. November, December, January, it's going to rain somewhere in between. So if it rains
anywhere in between there.
Like now this rain, it's been predicted. If it doesn't rain tomorrow, it's dry. They even predicted it. Dry spells.
It will rain at some point.
Yes.
Yeah, it depends. Are you west or south of the Rift Valley?
You stop asking many questions. You've been told.
You are Central Rift Valley.
Between now
southeastern
and January.
Part of the country.
Yes.
People were
northwest.
Kenya, we do not tell directions using compass. At east of here.
To use your map.
East of Nairobi. Where is east of Nairobi? Do you even know?
Kangundu
Road. See Mombasa Road. Kitengela.
Keep it here for more conversations. We'll continue this weather conversation in the next hour. We'll be joined by a manager from the Kenya Red Cross to tell us what the Kenya Red Cross is doing, basically, to sensitize communities and to help them cope with the effects of this weather. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Love Spice FM because of one, the music.
The playlist is good.
Spice.
You played the best music.
More of the classics and the hits you love. We are Spice FM.
President William Ruto has announced plans to upgrade a local healthcare facility in the Coast region to a level 6 hospital. According to the president, the move will benefit the local community by reducing the needs of patients to travel long distances for specialized medical care. Speaking in Mombasa, Ruto reaffirmed his dedication to collaborating with the Coast region leaders, regardless of political affiliation, with the welfare of Kenyans as the main priority. Now, ICTC's Eldoret has asked Nyanza residents to support the administration of President William Ruto despite not voting for him in the last general election. Speaking in Kisumu County, Owalo reiterated that the government continues to invest in the area and especially in the fishing sector.
But as a government, we are going ahead to establish fish landing sites along the beaches, starting from Musenge, Wijlum, here in Kisumu, Kindu Bay, Homa Bay, all the way to Mibu in Migori. We are going to have fish landing sites so that fishermen can have modern techniques of fish processing before they export the fish or sell the fish elsewhere.
He also promised that the government will revive the cultivation of cotton, which used to be a major economic venture for the residents of the region.
We want to do that again so that places like Siaya, which were known for cotton production, can again pursue cotton as a cash crop for purposes of economic development. And we will have gineries, cotton gineries in each and every one of the counties within Nyanza. In the fishing,
as the ongoing rains continue to cause damage and even death in various parts of the country, northeastern leaders now want the government to declare the current rains as a national disaster. In a press conference, the leaders, through the chairperson of the UDM party, Ali Roba, have explained that they were more affected by the rains as bridges were washed away, roads were destroyed, houses flooded, and even people died. Mandera South is among the most affected, with more than 4,000 families affected.
Whatever happened and the briefing that was given to His Excellency the President, we don't know. Later, the President made a statement saying, we are grateful to God that El Nino situation that was forecasted is no more. However, we are here to make a very firm statement that the situation as it is in these counties are worse than the 1997 El Nino period.
Mandera Governor Mohammed Khalif has expressed fear of outbreak of diseases resulting from the rains as well as dirty water.
Baada ya hii mafuriko tutakuwa na shida kubwa ya mlipuko wa magonjwa kama kipindupindu ama magonjwa ya kuendesha, na pia wale mbu ambao watazaliwa kutokana na athari hii ya mvua ni hatari kwamba tutaweza kuwa na malaria ambayo itaweza kuleta matatizo mengi kule.
In Tana River County, more than 200 families have been left homeless after their homes are washed away due to the ongoing rains. The rains have also affected activities in Mombasa County.
Usaidizi wowote na tumesikia county pesa zimekuja za kusaidia watu mafuriko.
Sasa tumeamka asubuhi tunashangaa watu wameacha makao, hawana vyakula, hawana chochote, wanabakia mabarabarani, watu wamejazana mabarabarani, watakula wapi?
Mvua ikinyesha tu sisi tuko katika shida. Si mara ya kwanza wala si mara ya pili tushaharibikiwa na vitu ndani ya nyumba.
Ile maji inapojaa mpaka sewage inapanda, maji ya mavi na turegelea kwa nyumba na watoto. Na this incident mara nyingi inatendeka usiku wa manane. Sasa niambie usiku wa manane utapata nafasi wapi?
Now there's fear that food will be destroyed in several other areas including Coast, Nyanza and the Mount Kenya region. Now Faith Gitao is Nyandarua County Women Representative.
Chakula zetu zimeanza kuoza na mabarabara zetu sasa zimefungika kabisa na maji. Na tunaomba usaidizi kutoka the national government wakuje watufungulie hii maji ndio at least mabarabara zetu ziache kuharibika.
And at least 17 people have died while 14 others have sustained varying degrees of injuries in the ongoing rains that started in mid-October. This is according to a Kenya Red Cross report that was released and that has also detailed at least 1,009 livestock deaths in the same period. The ongoing rains, which expected to last until January, have also impacted 10,277 households across the country, wreaked havoc on 84 latrines and destroyed 221 acres of agricultural land. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
O'clock on a busy Monday morning where, yes, in some parts the rain is coming down, and we're looking at probably heightened rains later. Coming off a thicker superhighway, it's heavy coming in from Survey, bumper to bumper, through and through. And this time it's spilling over towards Murang'a Road. We're also looking at traffic, then coming on Kiambu Road. That's pretty busy as well. You're coming in from United Nations Avenue and also then through towards Muthaiga. You're going to be on that road where construction is taking place. Now you can imagine construction plus rains plus Monday morning traffic. Things are going to slow down considerably. A thicker superhighway is also snaking along literally all the way from Kahawa, Githurai, and even beyond that, Clay City. Traffic is snaking along very, very slowly, trying to make its way into the city. So if you're there, you get it. On James Gishuru, traffic both directions, bumper to bumper, past the drift. It's also coming in heavy from Mzima Springs. Gitanga Road is busy, coming in through Riara Road. And all of this happening coming in from Naivasha Road. So it's a busy Monday morning and it started already. Full force on Jogoo Road as well, and coming in from Lunga Lunga, touching on the Likoni interchange from Lusaka Road. We're going to have to keep an eye on things this morning because it is busy. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on X. We're trying to keep things moving, spread as much information as you can this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room the only way to
How are
start
you
your
doing?
day.
Welcome to the second hour of the Situation Room, live on Spice FM, on KTN Home, on YouTube, on Facebook, and Conversations. Also tracking on Twitter, X, at Spice FM KE. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, reminding you the importance of going to buy Kiwi shoe polish.
Yeah, so let's put a lot of things in perspective. The year is coming to an end, isn't it?
Yes.
And then there are festivities and there are things and people want to spend money and blah, blah.
Yes.
But then there's also the reality that come January, children will do what?
Go back
They
to
will
school.
Go to school.
Yes.
And most times you're saying, okay, so how am I going to do this? I just don't have enough shilling. So Kiwi is saying, you know what? In addition to having you step up and shine, let's do this in more ways. Step up and shine where you get an opportunity to pay school fees. So how do you do that? It's a simple process, really. You go to any supermarket where you'll be able to find the participating Kiwi tin with the fabulous new logo around the nation. Then you're going to buy a tin of that, and when you pop the lid, under the lid, you will find a code. You're going to take your phone, and then you're going to dial *459 *5#, follow the instructions, and instantly you will win airtime or data, and instantly you will enter into the draw, for which 4 winners every week will win 35,000 shillings. And what does it do? It goes directly to paying school fees in January. It's a good thing. You should get on it now.
It is. It is. All you need to do is just go and buy Kiwi.
Yes, and then follow
That's
the instructions.
it.
Yes,
That's it.
absolutely.
Very good. It's important to do it. Now, page 6 of the Standard this morning, there are 4 photos. Photo number 1, caption: Lailuba Market in Tigania East flooded after heavy rains. Photo number 2, Mbeu Ward Rep John Muguna on the banks of the Solent River Zanantu in Tigania West, Meru County. Photo number 3, residents of Kageraine village in Kinangop constituency assist a miner on a wheelchair cross a flooded section of the road. And the other one is motorists driving through Link Road in Mombasa after heavy rains pounded the county for the last 2 days. The story is leaders in northeastern Nyandarua call for aid as floods wreak havoc. Northeastern leaders are calling on both the government and humanitarian aid agencies to respond quickly to the devastating floods that have cost lives and livelihoods in the area. During a presser at UDM offices in Nairobi, Mandera County leaders asked the state to declare the situation a national disaster. I'd like to appeal to all non-state actors, government and other well-wishers to come to the rescue because the situation doesn't seem to be subsiding. That is UDM party leader Ali Roba. Upscale the emergency response required as county governments are not adequately resourced to deal with this catastrophe. This is a situation that's going on across the country in very many places, and this is that story and the photos. Now, let's have this conversation. We are joined by the Public Health and Emergencies Manager at the Kenya Red Cross Society, Caleb Chamirmir. Caleb, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Thank you very much for joining us at the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you.
I know that the Kenya Red Cross has been doing a lot. Even before the onset of the rains, went around the country, sensitizing communities on how to prepare for the oncoming rains. Now they're here. I'm sure you're on the ground. You'll tell us all about this. To welcome you to the conversation, CT has the day's proverb. This week's proverbs are from
the Republic of Congo, otherwise known as the Congo.
Okay.
Otherwise also known as Congo Brazzaville.
Okay.
Ingawaji, Brazzaville is actually the capital city and also its largest city. You know, there are countries where the capital city is not necessarily the largest city, but in this case, it is.
Okay.
Even without drum beats, banana leaves dance.
Even without drum beats, banana leaves dance. Caleb, what's your interpretation of this proverb?
That's a tricky one. Well, there are events that, with or without your interventions, they will occur. Therefore, you need to get ready for them. Yeah, that's my interpretation.
That is a beautiful interpretation. So simple and so to the point. Yes.
Upende usipende.
There are things that will happen with or without your input.
Upende usipende. Yes. It will happen.
Yes.
Okay. Caleb, it appears like tupende tusipende, these rains are coming. Tupende tusipende, we are seeing the effects of this. What, from a global view, are you dealing with at the Kenya Red Cross?
The context is that the phenomenon El Nino is not only affecting Kenya. Their neighboring countries, Tanzania, Somalia, Ethiopia, there are also even parts of the southern Sudan who are experiencing increased rainfall during this OND period. So we are within the context of what is happening regionally. Yes.
And so in the country, how bad is it?
The current situation is that we have over 10,000 people, households, affected so far. And directly we're talking over 1,600 households who have been displaced. Actually now tending towards 2,000. We'll get updates of the night. The figure will definitely be above 2,000.
So when we say displaced, what are we talking about here? I mean, it sounds like we understand that, but all right. When we say displaced, that they're not able to inhabit their shelter anymore, what has happened? The houses have been, washed away, they've been flooded. What has happened that they've been displaced?
So the nature of effect, let's start with the larger number of over 10,000 households who have been affected. Here we're talking about households that either do not access their routine market routes because of roads being cut off, communications lines, farmlands and all that. They might not necessarily have their households or their houses distracted. But the ones that we are talking about of close to 2,000 right now, those ones are the ones who have been displaced, meaning that where they reside, their household goods and their houses have been distracted by the increased rainfall.
So what happens that this occurs? Because, heavy rain, water falling from the sky, but what happens to cause a situation whereby now these areas become uninhabitable? What has happened? Flooding, houses have been washed away, because it's not just the rain falling from the sky. There must be something else that has contributed to this.
These communities that are affected, mainly if you look at, as read by Latif as regards the exact locations. We're talking about northeastern, we're talking about upper eastern region, we're talking about central areas, especially Meru. Some parts of Turkana, we've started receiving enhanced rainfall and some effect. So here we are talking about individuals or households that do not normally, and they're not resilient enough. So when you talk about them being displaced or their farmlands being affected or their road networks being affected, then there is a lot of livelihood impact on them that is likely to cause a slightly longer term, mid to longer term effects on their lives. Yeah.
Do I hear you to be saying that these are areas that ordinarily do not experience such rainfall?
The rainfall that is expected within this period of the OND period is enhanced within those areas. To the extent that now these displacements have started happening at slightly, we'll call them the onset period of these rains. So the question begs, what will happen during, the peak period of the rains?
Essentially, the disasters that we're now seeing is not the peak.
We are yet to get to the peak.
When is the peak expected?
I will not give the precise times as regards the peak, but the onsets began mid of October for most of the parts of the country, but some started late October to early November, and the rains within the lower areas of like areas of Tana River, Garissa, Wajir. It's not only the rain that hits or pours directly on their land, but also what rains on the upper, the highlands of central, the river Tana flowing down, and the impact of that. Kenya Red Cross, together with other partners, the water authorities and communities, structures, have been monitoring these river levels just to check and to ensure that we warn communities early enough to be able to move to safer grounds in this period.
So, Caleb, there was prior warning. Yes. Met had said expect some above normal rainfall.
Yes.
Possibly El Nino during this time. So, were these communities aware that this was going to happen? Had there been proper preparation for such kind of disasters?
A message has been shared by the weatherman over time. Meteorological department has communicated. We've had contingency planning jointly and led by government. We've had sector-specific coordination mechanisms by government and partners just to ensure that the country is prepared. So within those preparedness actions, there are things that institutions of government, agencies led by organizations like the Kenya Red Cross, and the communities are engaged in advance to the same. So these includes various modes of communication, including social media, broadcasted messages before the event or even about the event. Kenya Red Cross has supported, the preparedness actions by initially sharing messages around the OND rainfall and the enhanced rainfall, the likely effect, and what communities need to do. During such period where now we anticipate maybe within a certain period in a specific location of flooding, maybe because of the monitoring of the river levels or the prediction of the rainfall upstream, then messages are sent to those particular communities in partnership with other partners like Safaricom to ensure that messages go to those particular households and they receive messages about impending flooding in those areas.
Has it had an impact? Like, can you tell us, because of this concerted effort by the various actors, we have actually been able to avert a crisis to this level?
We will not delve into assessing the impact as at now, but it is an essential and important way of going around this to ensure that those communities have adequate information and have choices to make as regards their safety. Yes.
So maybe I can ask the other way around. Have the communities responded positively to the early warning messages? If you're telling people beware that you could be affected by flooding because of the swelling of river, this and that, have we seen people moving out willingly before the floods hit?
Through the various coordination mechanisms, especially at community level, sub-county, and even county level, once the messages are broadcasted and also information shared as regards the river level and the likely rains that are likely to pound those areas, we've seen some communities heed, and that is why you would find the number of the affected a little bit higher, far much higher as compared to those who are displaced. Those who are displaced will include those who heeded early and those who were found in the mix of issues. And within the ratio of close to 1,000, you will see that there's a good response, and even by the leadership, because when you are engaging communities, you need the local leadership. Yes, and I think you read the article by the Northeastern leadership, the elected leaders, and also the county government leadership, including the regional commissioners' actions. Those are very important in ensuring that the communities heed to warning.
When we have these heavy rains, is it that these are new areas that are experiencing these heavy rains, or are they the areas that from time to time one hears of? Why I say this is because the Red Cross, and because of its functions, probably understands better than most, probably only the government agencies that are involved understand better of areas that have been affected in the past, the ones which are being affected now. Do we see congruence? Is there something about the areas that are affected the most?
Yeah, that speaks to the contingency plan, both the multi-sector contingency plans as well as sector-specific plans. I say this because at the national level and even at the county level, we have the NDOC-led planning for the various counties. And one of the things that was undertaken during this planning is mapping, just to ensure that based on the historical data, we are able to identify which geographic locations are likely to be affected, and even engage those communities in advance. So as regards the sites, as we're seeing right now, they are very close to what we had in the past. There is very little deviation as regards projected or anticipated areas that are prone to flooding based on the past.
When was the last time we had such floodings in these areas, since they're more or less the same areas? This level of flooding?
The flooding is dependent on the precipitation in those particular areas, including where the highlands that feed into those lowlands. So they are varying times.
So if we were to say, for purposes of our discussion, that it happens yearly, there are plans, they've been mapped out, but what are the physical activities that have been taken over time? Because they've seen this before, it's happened before, they know the consequences. What are these things that one need to have been done and to have been done?
I think we need to commend efforts also by government and agencies, including Red Cross, that have been intervened post the previous flooding in those particular areas. Look at the situation in the western part of the country. History will remind you that, at such a time we'll be talking about, serious flooding, displacement and effects, especially those around, the Yala River.
Budalangi.
Yes, those areas. But you can see the effect to those communities when we have enhanced rainfall has been less over the period because of the interventions that have occurred. Then two, we at times get stuck on the negative bit of it. But we also don't look at what are the opportunities that arise from enhanced rainfall and flooding in those areas. So over time, there have been investments on dams and ponds in those communities, improving their livelihoods through such events, using those dams for farming and improving even access to food and things like that. The government has also supported in, the infrastructure bit. But you see, issues around the pathway that the rivers take, it does not necessarily need to take the same path the same year. Yeah, you will find that where you had, the flash flood streams, which has been dry this season, it passed through this area, and you find that it has moved maybe some 200 meters, 300, especially on the lower lands, as it exits into the oceans and things like that. So instances in Wajir, Tana River, you will find where the rivers precisely passed would not necessarily be exact position, but within the same geographic confines.
Some of the undertakings that are required to mitigate against this may be very expensive, and they may be very capital intensive. But if rivers flood and overflow, can rivers be diverted? Can rivers be dredged?
Those are technical questions that will require engineering lens to those issues.
The reason why I ask is because I come from a place that perennially was perennially flooded. The Kano Plains. The Serikali's idea story. Okay? Now, it's one river, it's called Nyando River. Okay? Now, there was a period when the flooding, but this is a story I repeat all the time because it's important. There was a period when that flooding ceased to the point of almost being non-existent. The problem simply didn't occur as it used to before. When I talk about dredging, it actually took place. When I talk about perhaps diverting it so that instead of just one pathway, it has more than one pathway, it happened. The very things you say, ponds were built or dredged, because the ponds had been in existence. They were just over time covered
by silt.
Yes, and so you'd find all manner of vegetation on it, but very little water. Meaning, what I'm asking is, there are things, and you've mentioned, that can be done, even by communities. It does not require government intervention. Not really. It may require the mechanized services in the department or the Ministry of Agriculture or roads department to help, but it's something that can be done. The question I'm really asking is, we have all these water bodies right across the country. Now, is there something in their docket that is supposed to cater? Because we're talking about water here, more water than we know what to do with. I'm asking, should they not be at the center of this particular conversation?
It is, and as I told you, there is the overall contingency plan that we're following through. Red Cross plays its role within that national plan, even the sector-specific plans, and their government agencies. And I think it would be fair to allow those government agencies that deal specifically with infrastructure to engage on the same. However, I can speak very well as regards the Red Cross-related contribution towards the overall national contingency plan.
Let's take a break. It's 29 minutes past 7. Kenya's biggest conversation is hosting Caleb Chemirmir. He's the public health in emergencies manager at the Kenya Red Cross. We're talking about the effect of the ongoing heavy rainfall across the country. Flooding has caused many people to be affected. Caleb is telling us over 10,000 households have been affected, and heading now to about 2,000 households that have been displaced as a result of these heavy rains. Okay, the conversation continues shortly. Caleb, we're talking about kiwi, and you saw, talking about kiwi and the importance of buying kiwi. Also because school fees also coming.
Yes.
Right?
So there's a way to mitigate, as there is a way to mitigate when it's flooding. There's a way to mitigate when now we're looking for school fees for January. And Kiwi says, in as much as you can step up and shine and look dapper for school, we can also step up and shine and make sure that you can have access to school fees come January. All you need to do is walk into any supermarket that is displaying Kiwi with fabulous new logo design, and you buy a tin of that. Buy a tin of that and then follow the instructions, and the number is *459 *5#. You follow the instructions and you input the code which you'll find under the lid, and instantly you win airtime or data, and then you get enrolled in the draw that could see you win 35,000 shillings. 4 people are winning 35,000 rather every week until it runs out, and people then get a chance to go to school in January. No hassle.
How do you know the Kiwi that's actually involved in this particular campaign? So this is how it looks like. And there's this starburst here, which has the instructions on what to do, right? So the starburst here, it tells you once you get it, you get instant airtime or data. It also shows you how to dial *459 *5#. And if you open under the lid, you will find the code that you need to send. So look out for this particular tin of Kiwi. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
You tune into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanya.
Amen. Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It gets over
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes.
What the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself.
When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, oh, you know, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom?
I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to. She's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, you know, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
It will be called First Ladies until you change the name.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
We love to share our culture and the one language that unites us all. One that helps us start the day and keeps us going. Brookside Dairy Best is part of every celebration and offers a warm welcome to every home.
Karibuni chai.
Na hii ni lugha ambayo kila Mkenya anaelewa. The more the milk, the better the chai. Chai kweli in a Brookside Dairy Best.
All right, bit of sunshine in Nairobi at this point, 16 degrees, highs of 23 and lows of 15 through Monday. And partly sunny conditions in Nakuru at 16 with highs of 22. And we'll see highs of 23 in a partly sunny Nyeri at 15. We're looking into a mostly sunny Eldoret at 13 with highs of 23. And then out in Mombasa is partly sunny at 25 with highs of 29 and lows of 24. Malindi is cloudy at 26 with highs of 30. And into a partly sunny Kisumu at 20, highs of 27 and lows of 19. It's cloudy at 18 in Kakamega with highs of 26. Out in Kampala, cloudy at 18 with highs of 28, and Dar es Salaam is partly sunny at 25 with highs of 28 as well. All right, into Mogadishu is mostly cloudy at 25 with highs of 31, and Addis Ababa is sunny at 12 with highs of 23. Johannesburg sunny at 17 with highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 32 in a partly cloudy Lagos at 26. It is 23 degrees and partly cloudy in Kinshasa. It'll go with highs of 31 and lows of 23.
Spice up your life.
In all parts of the city this morning. Coming off of Jogo Road, it's busy as you get towards Landis. And then there's traffic. It's coming in from, my goodness, all areas. And then touching on Kamkunji at the roundabout. In the middle of the CBD, very busy. And Uhuru Highway getting into the city, very, very busy as well. On the Thika Superhighway, bumper to bumper traffic is coming all the way in from Githurai, well beyond Safari Park Hotel, in from Clay City, really, really busy, and it's moving very slowly. Ruaka Road is then giving through towards Limuru Road, coming in from Muthaiga, all the way from Kitisuru. That traffic is heavy. Red Hill Link Road, Red Hill Road, Lower Kabete, all of that coming in from Gashie, very heavy as well. James Gishoro is giving all the way from Riara Road, and it's snaking along in both directions, getting out towards Waiaki. It's that Monday morning, and it's a wait to see what it's going to look like, but we're getting into traffic hour hot and heavy. Let's know what's going on where you are. We want to keep things moving this morning, but it doesn't look like that for most parts, at least not for now. It's going to take a lot of patience as well as being careful, but let's talk either way on Spice FM, KE on X.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Our conversation continues with Caleb Chamirmir. He is the Public Health and Emergencies Manager from the Kenya Red Cross Society. We're talking about the work that's been done to address the ongoing rainfall and the effects of that. So, Caleb, in these parts of the country, like you said, northeastern, upper eastern, they're seriously affected. What are we talking about? Are we talking about proper displacement of people? Are we talking about livestock? What are we saying?
The effects also go into the livelihood components of the populations that have either been affected or directly displaced. This would include, farmland. The infrastructure that we are talking about, like roads, have a direct or indirect effect in the various sectors. Because here you are talking about commerce, trade, movement of goods, including food, and populations. So that is interrupted. That also affects other sectors like the health services in terms of accessing the health facilities or even referrals. So when we talk about the other effects on the infrastructure, including roads, then we are talking about the whole human facets being affected. And that is why we are having a population of over 10,000 households that have been affected.
Okay. What has the government been doing? What are these preparations that you say there's a coordination framework?
Oh, yes.
All right. But the national government, county government, plus partners,
Yes.
Kenya Red Cross included.
Yes.
So what is it that you look at when you meet and have conversations?
Okay. If you may allow me, I'll use the health sector planning, which is a mirror of the overall national planning, as well as the other sectors.
Okay.
For the health sector, we do have a coordination mechanism that was set up way back, some 4 months ago or so, which went into the business of preparing the contingency plan for the country, for the health sector. And therefore, that means even for the other sectors, as well as the overall coordination, it feeds into it. Now, that went through a lot of inputs from various technical lenses. So the weather-related data as regards the prediction, the various technical fields in health, partners who are involved in health service provision, Red Cross included, went into the business of preparing that plan, and that plan is ready. The plan focuses on 5 main areas, which are very critical and well thought. Enhancing coordination during the preparedness, response, and even up to the recovery phase of this enhanced rainfall. Number 2 is to ensure that there is continuity of healthcare services. With flooding and related heavy rainfall, we have disruption of access to healthcare services. So the plans were there to critically look at ensuring that communities will continue accessing healthcare services. Number 3 is looking at the surveillance. From the surveillance lens of issues, diseases and nutrition status of communities, ensure that we are closely monitoring and ensuring that we do not have disease outbreaks, which we know during such periods are likely to occur.
Yeah.
Remember, we've just come from a period close to a year of acute watery diarrhea, cholera being cited in the country. So this is a context that we are living in, and it's a reality. And of course, other diseases that can arise from flooding, vector-borne diseases being another critical one. The other bit is looking at logistics. How do health commodities, personnel move, including the health commodities angle of issues? Are they prepositioned? Are they in the correct locations? And Kenya Red Cross is one of those partners, together with other agencies like UNICEF and UNFPA, who have been able to support the national government to preposition these commodities, including WHO, to preposition these commodities at strategic locations. In the event that those communities mapped out will require. In the mapping for the health sector specific, allow me to mention that even the health facilities that were going to be affected were mapped out. Working closely with the county governments, identifying based on historical data and topographical issues which facilities are likely to be affected, and therefore prepare adequately for them. Then lastly is giving a lens on advocacy, communication, and risk communication and community engagement, just to ensure that we have a very good plan, we have adequate messages during the whole phases. That is the preparedness, the response, and recovery phase. That when we'll engage communities, we'll engage them adequately, comprehensively, and ensure that we have not only buy-in from the communities, but also all other organs at community level. There are community-related organizations and structures that are necessary for working together in terms of ensuring that we minimize the effect of this flooding. Thank you.
How would you compare? So we're looking at about, give or take, about 3 to 4 weeks of rain that have happened so far, right? Yes. And already we're seeing what we've seen in terms of destruction, in terms of, people having been displaced and having to move, and then having to see the enactment of these plans and policies that have been put in place just in case. And so now we're seeing that it's a situation that it's happening. How would you compare this in terms of mitigation efforts that have been put in place and rolling them out compared to what has happened in the past where there have been, flooding disasters such as this. So far, we also know that, we've been told, even as of this morning, that, the rains are likely to last well into the new year. How would you compare what has been done so far to previous incidents where the same has happened?
Looking at I talked about the contingency planning, and it is good to mention that it is also devolved to the extent that counties also have their own county multi-sectoral contingency plans. Now, when you look at the rollout of the contingency plans or implementation of these plans, of course there are challenges because the resources required to ensure that the plans are delivered could be massive, and I mean we are still calling out to anyone who has the muscle to either physically support or financially support comes on board. But by and large, that we had a contingency plan that is well thought, that is in all layers, that is in all sectors, is a good thing. Is a good thing in the sense that if you want to ensure that we are able to deliver, then you just plug into it. If we are talking about the previous years, over the years we are seeing improvement in terms of how we plan. We are seeing improvements of how we coordinate. And this is a good thing. I just forgot to mention that even within the humanitarian space, we do have a coordination mechanism specifically for the humanitarian agencies. And this is led by UNOCHA. And within the various hubs, and the country has been split into hubs, 8 hubs. We have different agencies, and Red Cross is doing the leadership in some of these hubs. So all partners are brought on board. All humanitarian actors are brought on board who are involved in the business of preparing and even responding to the enhanced rainfall.
So what you're talking about is something that is multi-stakeholder, multi-sectoral.
Precisely.
And particularly the leadership is involved.
Yes.
Then when I read this story, the press conference by the leadership from Northeastern, I'm a bit confused. Because the former governor of Mandera County, who is now the senator from Mandera County, was addressing this press conference. And he's saying, I'd like to appeal to all non-state actors, government and other well-wishers to come to the rescue because the situation doesn't seem to be subsiding. They were saying this should be now declared a national disaster, upscale the emergency response required as county governments are not adequately resourced to deal with the catastrophe of this magnitude. The governor of Mandera, Mohammed Khalif, expressing fears of more deaths arising from starvation and waterborne diseases should urgent mitigation strategies fail to be put in place. And he says, it is disheartening to see local schools submerged, hindering the education of our students and a disruption of vital local institutions, including hospitals. These sound like leaders who are not aware of a coordinating mechanism, of a place or a platform where they can raise this issue, where these issues have actually been mapped out and there's a proper, clear escalation matrix.
Yeah, I would want to join, all Kenyans as well as, the media together with the leadership, to empathize with those who have been affected by the floods. And, it touches the heart and causes one to act more. But the fact of the matter is that the coordination mechanisms that came up with the various contingency plans involves all leaders, from the very local community level structures to the highest level of this country. So each and every player of the disaster management cycle has a role, and that includes even the political leadership to ensure that the issue is brought to the fore and addressed. For Kenya Red Cross, we have a duty. Maybe I didn't mention this earlier, but we are auxiliary to government. This means that during such times when there is human suffering, we are there to ensure that we support the national government. And this is through a legal provision of an act of parliament. Now, as regards if we did not have or had plans, I think that is something that I've already spoken to, as regards very clear plans that we do have and we are doing following. By the way, we will be having an aerial survey this morning over, the flooded areas of Wajir all the way up to Mandera, just to look at the situation as it is, and if necessary also do drops, aerial drops within those areas. And we will be having the national government leadership at that level, the
county commissioner
and the regional commissioners on board, as well as the county government and elected leaders where possible. This stems from MCA all the way up.
So I don't know about you, Caleb, but it sounds to me like these leaders are expecting somebody else to do the job. They're saying the national government, if these things are not done, then people are going to die. When a governor is saying it is disheartening to see local schools submerged, hindering the education of our students and the disruption of vital local institutions, including hospitals, and then Mandera South MP Abdul Haro pleading with the state to release emergency and disaster management funds to help those affected, it sounds like funds are not being released. Sounds like there's a disconnect between what these elected leaders at constituency and county level know versus what the national is doing. But you're saying that this is all coordinated and they are part of the coordination.
Latif, let's not go in that direction. I've already spoken about the coordination mechanisms that is functional.
Okay. So then let me ask you this direct question.
Yes.
They are calling on the state to declare the situation a national disaster. Okay. From where you sit, from what you see in the last couple of days, and the effects of the ongoing rainfall, the effect to the communities, should it be escalated?
I think the issue is to monitor closely the numbers and also projections. We are getting more distilled predictions as regards daily, weekly potential for rain in the various parts of the country. Working closely with community-based disaster response teams, which Red Cross has invested over the years, monitor those rivers. Just suffice to mention that some of these rivers that traditionally cause flooding have gauges through various partnerships, have gauges, and those CBDRT teams that Red Cross has invested heavily in various communities monitor the water level. So we will use those data to, speak to what is likely to happen, and through a coordinated approach that
so there's
everyone.
There's a mechanism that would advise the state to escalate this and call it a national disaster.
The state coordinates all of us. Using various scientific parameters by the data weathermen, also those who have been in the business of DM, based on their information and projections to advise next moves. So when that happens, then we'll get communication. But as regards the enhanced rainfall, we are already warned that this is likely to happen, and it has happened, the enhanced rainfall.
Oftentimes, when things like this happen, that's when we see that there is a plan for disaster. Is there a plan, or would it make sense to have plans in place that would then be able to avert it? For example, one of the things that is done oftentimes when these heavy rains are coming is that drainages are unblocked, because they have all kinds of dirt in them. Water then is diverted, which unfortunately a natural water body will just come back to its natural course. So what about long-term mitigation? Is that ever in the plan? Because I see things like the erection of dams, for example, to take on a lot of this excess water, the path that this excess water would take, then to be able to have diversionary mechanisms where they could all then go into one outlet. Are those kinds of things in line with a version of the consequences of such things? And are those things that can be thought of, whether it's mid to long term? Because then what happens is that every time there's something, we don't have to start running helter-skelter to, move people to higher ground, or to, then now start looking for dry spaces where we can administer food and medicine and shelter. But that, because this is the main problem here, that there is large amounts of water, it's either pooled in one place or it keeps coming, and so many things happen as a result of it. Is there mid-long-term options so that we avoid this reaction every time something happens?
Yeah, I think the proactiveness starts in the planning. And we've already talked about what are contained in the contingency plan. If you would take Kenya Red Cross as a case in point, we have invested in building capacities of responders. We have invested in capacity building responders to the extent of health, shelter, and other livelihood-related interventions. Number two, we have ensured that we are working closely with the county and national governments to preposition other capacities. If it is water treatment issues, kits, which are the plants that will be able to purify drinking water. Those have been propositioned in strategic places. So the investments on or proactiveness in preparing early have been there. Now, for the mid and long-term investments, we talked about Budalangi. And Budalangi is already a good example of, over the years, such investments, what it has resulted to. In the 90s, 2000, up to early 2010, thereabouts, Budalangi was known. That is standard.
It rains, it floods.
And not only that, the effect to the communities. But over time, you've seen that the investment that were made for long term have really supported those communities. Of course, over years, it will require, a revise or revision of their stabilities and things like that. But so far, so good. The same thing in terms of what Red Cross has done over the years in terms of long term. And we hope that even the interventions that we are having in some of the enhanced rainfall areas in the lower eastern, where we are talking about communities doing planting of, short-term crops. It's not all doom. It's also the opportunities that are there. So within those frames, pretty much this is happening. But of course, we still require closer collaboration and partnership with more to ensure that the recovery plans, the mid and long term post the response, are looked into. But this is a discussion that will definitely be in detail after the recovery phase. Yes.
You deal with the Kenya Red Cross on a daily basis. The weather department, the meteorological department. When you're communicating to these communities, is KMD able to give you precise prediction of when the rain is going to come, so that people know that between this time and this time, I am now able to run to the market and get back and then prepare to move? Do you have such kind of communication that tells you the rain will start at 3 p.m. in a certain village or in a certain location?
My brother, precise and prediction. Yes,
there is an oxymoron.
Yes. So anyway, but we've seen improvement in terms of utilization of weather data. In terms of precision, there's a greater precision. And based on what we receive for either daily or weekly data, we do then communicate. During the preparedness phase, we we broadcast messages to communities, especially those which had been mapped out as high risk. I mentioned the telecoms that we work with towards ensuring that individual handsets within those areas receive appropriate message.
Okay.
Then during such phase where now we are seeing it is imminent, it's about to happen, the second phase of messages come to play, where now we are telling them it's time to evacuate or put yourself in a safe situation, as well as other related messages.
Okay, so specifically,
yes,
are you able to tell people that leave your homes by 3 p.m. Today? It is project. So you can tell there is heavy rainfall on the upper parts of this region.
Yes.
There's likelihood of the floods coming, and there's likelihood of the flood arriving in this particular village by 3:30 p.m. So you tell people, please evacuate by 3:30, or do you just say evacuate your homes?
So based on our experience and utilization of weather data, as well as the gauges that I talked about, for instance, if I give you an example of the Tana River that floods the areas of Fafi, both the Garissa and Tana River side, going all the way down to Delta over the years. So what we know is that when the river gets to a certain level, at a certain gauge reading point, the likely affected communities will be location XYZ.
Okay.
Those were done clearly during the mapping phase, the preparedness phase. Now, during such a period, we monitor such parameters, including what is indicated as potential rainfall in the upper or the highlands and the particular geographic location. So with that, we are able to communicate with the higher precision to the communities that within the next 24 hours, we expect that the rivers will have burst their banks in these particular locations, and therefore communities within those areas receive those particular messages.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us. Caleb Chemirmir is the Public Health in Emergencies Manager at the Kenya Red Cross. He's been our guest today, talking about how they are coordinating with other agencies and government in addressing the effects of the ongoing floods. Good morning, 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Love Spice FM because of one, the music.
The playlist is good.
Spice.
You played the best music.
More of the classics and the hits you love. We are Spice FM.
Exercise patience while his Kenya Kwanza administration works towards fulfilling its election promises. Addressing a Thanksgiving church service in Mombasa, Ruto acknowledged that understanding the time required for promise fulfillment is crucial. Ruto urged Kenyans to unite with the government to expedite the fulfillment of promises, emphasizing that collaboration with leaders from all parties is a priority for the Kenya Kwanza administration.
Sote tunakubaliana ya kwamba kwa pamoja, pia tumekubaliana hapa lazima tuongee tukiwa pamoja. Na vile nimesema, vile nimeahidi wa Kenya, we are going to work together with all leaders. Leo tumekuwa na mkutano na governors wote na mabunge wote waliokuja, kwa sababu pia na sisi tunatafuta hiyo umoja, one accord, ndio tuweze kutimiza malengo ya taifa letu.
And Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has affirmed that the Kenya Kwanza government no longer has any issues with former President Uhuru Kenyatta, citing the absence of ongoing protest in the country. Gachagua stated that since both Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta maintained silence, the government sees no need to invoke their names or pursue them. He added that this silence has contributed to the restoration of peace in Kenya. He also addressed the leader of the Azimio la Umoja coalition, Raila Odinga, stating that his silence has similarly led to a cessation of discussions about him. According to Gachagua, the absence of protest and disturbances in the country indicates stability. Nevertheless, Gachagua issued a warning to both leaders, cautioning them against organizing protest again. He emphasized that the government is alert and prepared to address any potential disruptions.
President Uhuru Kenyatta ni mtoto wetu hapa Kiambu. Our president wa 4. Tulikuwa na shida na yeye. Sasa yeye ameretire, ameenda kwake, amenyamaza. na sisi tunampatia heshima yake kama rais wa Kenya. Aendelee kupumzika na sisi tufanye kazi yetu. And there is nobody who has huyu mzee wa kule amenyamaza. Sasa akinyamaza iko haja ya kufuata yeye. That's why you don't talk about him. Lakini akiamuka tunaamuka na yeye. Lakini si amenyamaza. You know now hakuna maandamano, hakuna kelele, so we are okay, you know.
At least 17 people have died while 14 others have sustained varying degrees of injuries in the ongoing rains that started in mid-October. This is according to a Kenya Red Cross report that indicates and detailed at least 1,009 livestock deaths in the same period. The ongoing rains, which are expected to last until January, have also impacted 10,277 households across the country, wreaked havoc on 84 latrines and destroyed 221 acres of agricultural land. Now, the county government of Mandera has vowed to support families that have been affected by flash floods occasioned by heavy rains that have been experienced in parts of the county. In a statement, Governor Mohammed Aden Khalif said that plans to provide aid to more than 16,000 affected households are underway as they also seek better ways to mitigate the disaster. He said that out of the affected persons, approximately 4,000 households have been displaced from their homes. In Embakasi East, Member of Parliament Babu Owino has emerged as the top-performing legislator in Nairobi, earning a 60% approval rating. According to InfoTrack ratings, Owino was closely followed by Westlands MP Tim Wanyonyi with 58%, Embakasi Central MP Benjamin Kathiru with 56%, and Embakasi North MP James Mwangi with 55%. Ruaraka MP Francis Tom Joseph Kajwang and Nakuru South MP John Kiarie received both a 54% approval rating. And Uganda has contracted bulk and refinery suppliers in an effort to obtain lower-cost petroleum products and reduce reliance on Kenya and Tanzania for supply. Currently, Uganda imports more than 90% of its petroleum products through the port of Mombasa in Kenya and the rest through the Dar es Salaam port in Tanzania. The importation is done independently by the licensed Ugandan oil marketing companies, however, through the importation structures in Kenya and Tanzania. And Pope Francis has renewed his call for an end to the Hamas-Israel conflict, urging the release of hostages and humanitarian aid for Gaza, describing the situation as very serious. Hamas militants stormed into Israel from the Gaza Strip on October 7th, killing at least 1,400 people and taking 240 people hostage, according to Israeli authorities, in the deadliest attack in the country's history. Israel has relentlessly bombarded the besieged Gaza Strip in response, killing more than 9,770 people, mostly women and children, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. The Pope has previously pleaded for an end to the conflict and for humanitarian aid to be allowed into the Gaza Strip. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, so here we are at a few minutes after 8 o'clock and still looking at traffic, having built up certain parts of the city already. All right, it's heavy on Limuru Road right about now. It's been so for a few hours. Actually, 2 hours. We're looking at heavy traffic coming off the Thika Superhighway as well. Very heavy coming in from Githurai, and that doesn't look like it's letting up anytime soon. There's traffic also coming in from Westlands. James Gishoro, very busy. It's touching on Mzima Springs all the way far back as Gitanga Road this morning. It's now spilling over to Red Hill, the Link Road, and then coming out through towards Lower Kabete, Spring Valley. You're going to deal with some pools of water at some point. Red Hill is busy, so most parts of the city this morning doing crazy things. We're going to keep an eye on things. Let us know what's going on where you are. Find a good route, or if you find a poor route as well, let us know so we can, shoot people off in different directions. Yes. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on X and keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
And welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Here until 10 a.m. every weekday morning, live on Spice FM, on KTN Home, on YouTube, and on Facebook. Chai kweli ina dairy best. Siti, kweli rongo.
Baba, kama kuna ukweli ni huo. Ukweli kabisa. And that kabisa is the same kabisa with chai, which is made with tea leaves, boiled to bubbling point, and then added with milk, again to bubbling point. Chai kweli, rich and creamy, dairy best.
Bas. Top. Enough said. Enough said. Think Kenya, think tea. Think Kenyan tea. Think Kenyan tea. Think Brookside Dairy Best.
Yes.
Equation solved.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about the state of our economy. And now we're joined by Jimmy Wenjege, who is a businessman and a politician. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you. It's been a while. Yeah. Do and CT. It's been a while.
It has.
A couple of months, I think.
Yes.
When was the last time I was here?
A couple of months ago.
It's good to be back. It's really good to be back.
The last time you were here, I wasn't here.
Yeah,
that's correct. The time you were here, you had a jacket on like this. You were going to court.
Yes.
Straight after his.
Yes.
Are you going to court straight?
No. I just thought, you had this question why I always come here in casual gear.
Yeah, good.
So I decided, let me just
rank it up.
Yeah, rank it up a bit.
Very well done.
Yeah, I'll dress down after this.
No. No. We demand the respect that we deserve.
It's good to be here.
Karibu
really good to be here.
What's happening in the economy? Our shilling. So a number of things that we'll talk about this. The winners and losers as dialogue team wraps up, how not to bring down the cost of living, layoff, rise to COVID levels on higher taxes and fuel costs. Many things that are happening. 42% of foreign investors flee the Nairobi Securities Exchange in 9 months. Costly inputs choking productivity in Kenya's agriculture, and so on and so forth.
Yes. I'm loving that. Finally, we are having the headlines this country deserves. I think when I began here earlier this year, I kept saying we have the wrong headlines. The issue is the economy. I've noticed the papers from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and today. It's nothing else but the economy. It is what you call our national pain. This is one thing this whole country is united about. Yeah? The pain of our economy. Whether one describes it as taxation or mafuta, okay? Or high cost of living, right? Or debt, or inflation, or whatever it is the pain or unemployment, because that is now a very big factor. Closing factories is another big factor.
Yeah.
It is the pain we are united about this economy and the lack of clarity of solving the problem. I saw the president yesterday in Mombasa say that sometimes you don't meet your promises as quickly as you would like. That you make promises and when you get there, you can't quite meet the targets in the time that is expected. Now, that can only be somebody who has not done his homework, his or her homework. Because, like a CEO in any company, this is CEO of Kenya. And CEO of Kenya cannot pretend that they've not done their homework about the state of the nation before you open your mouth and make promises. That then becomes what you call politics bonoko. Politics bonoko. And that is what we have clearly seen. Siti, you're making a face.
Yes, I'm wondering, bonoko, what language is this?
Bonoko is Sheng.
Okay.
You don't know it?
Bro, I have absolutely no idea who bonoko is.
Bonoko is fake. The connotation is fake. This is fake politics. You seduce the public, dangling carrots that you know you will never deliver. And that is the situation we are in.
Is it, Jimmy? Look, we've heard, in terms of explanation that has been given, that this is what the intent was. So maybe when I was telling you that I was going to do certain things, my intent wholeheartedly was to do so. Now, getting into the boat, I then realized that there are many other factors that would then influence what it is that I wanted to do, of which I was unaware of before I got into the boat. Is that the same kind of scenario we'll be looking at here, or is it really?
No, it isn't. Not at all. Because our problems are not of our own making. They are of our making. It's not an international making. It's not an arena that is outside of us. That is only a small part. The problems we have were created primarily over the last 10 years, of which the current president was well aware of. You cannot feign ignorance. And if you're going for the top job, the one thing you must do is do some homework. You can't feign ignorance that maybe I was out of the system and so on, so I didn't know what was going on. You are here in Kenya like all of us. You have been in government. You have done an assessment of your liabilities. You've done an assessment of your credit balance. You should have, before you make promises. Just like a company. I know what the right side of my book says and the left side. My liabilities and my assets. And the problem we're having is that was not done. In fact, it was ignored, like it's irrelevant. Let's just go and induce the people with the bonoko talk, right? So that when they consume it, they will say, yes, now we have a narrative called hustler versus dynasty. The problem in this country is the liability are dynasties. That is the way it was put. They're the liability, right? So we remove them and life will be better, right? We are going to take money from them under this bottom-up scheme. We are going to take money from them and bring it down to you. But nobody could quite show you how this path is to be done. It was simplified into some sort of ideology, right, of haves versus have-nots. Now, the greatest thing about that campaign, though, and I must say it, is that we are here today discussing ideological economic agendas and political ones. This is no longer the past where Kenyans didn't care about this deep an issue, even about the economy, right? We are graduating, we are reforming, and that we must pat ourselves on the back for. It's a very positive thing, because this is how the world runs. You debate issues, real issues, right? Now Kenyans are understanding what an exchange rate loss means. When they see the shilling coming down, what it means to their lives. They're understanding something called interest rate. They're understanding it, right? They're understanding hii mafuta, kibadilika, inaharibu maisha yetu. They're understanding it. And they're concentrating on it because of the pain. And the awareness, right, that this government got in promising us honey. And what we've gotten in return within 1 year is a very different template. Right? It's bitterness and pain.
There are many
There's
things.
no honey.
There are many things. Maybe it's also the government has opened the door for us to see what exactly has been happening in governance, in our governance of the country for many years.
You know, you can say that in part. And as I said earlier in previous interviews here, I was not about to criticize William Samoei Ruto. I gave him a year. Because that's how you know what a government template is going to be. Gave him a year to see what path he's going to take. Gave him until his budget. He brought a new budget. We said the problem, and continually advertised it. The problem is that most of our money is going to paying debts. 70-80% is going to paying debts.
Yep.
You're not going to solve it by raising taxes on the same people. He says he's following Kibaki. Kibaki expanded what you call the tax base. He didn't raise tax for us. He just made sure more people had income that he could tax. But he was taxing the same. He expanded the economies. He removed the barriers to development. So more and more of us, right, came into the formal economy. This template is to take the same donkey as same. We have not even expanded to 2 or 3 donkeys, and milk us more and dry, finish us, right, to deal with this problem called debt. Now, the tragedy, I can tell you, is that he is doing the same thing they have been criticizing over the last 10 years. We talked about legality of debt. Parliament, for your information, and this is information he is aware of, because I myself made sure he knows. Parliament, in its appropriation bill this year, passed external and foreign loans to be taken of 313 billion shillings. A month later, in what is gazetted by the National Treasury as the Exchequer, Statement of Exchequer, the National Treasury states, puts there categorically, external loans and grants, 870 billion shillings. Domestic loans, 693 billion shillings. Where did Parliament approve any of that?
That totals to about
1.6 trillion
in debt.
In debt. And this is the Bonoko politics I'm talking about. You say on the one hand, we are raising taxes, we are not going to borrow. And you borrow an amount that has never been borrowed before. So don't blame the last 10 years. In the last year, Uhuru's borrowings were just under 800 billion. You have gone double what Uhuru did in the last 1 year. So you cannot blame the past. You are continuing the collapse of our economy on a template of illegality. I want you to know that in the budget, CT, the total projects that have been listed so-called for development are 807 billion. So you're borrowing 870 billion external loans and grants over and above the projects. You are borrowing, right, over and above what you have set aside in the budget of 416 billion
for development.
For development as tax revenue towards development, towards that 807. They are doing the same thing. In fact, worse.
Why?
They are doubling our problem.
Why?
Tripling our problem. Hastening our collapse. And that's what we are now feeling. That's why you're feeling this pain so evidently, especially since September. It's just like suddenly the place is drying up. They've sapped all the money. They're taking all the money from us. What money do we have for circulation? And they themselves are taking it out. They're taking it out to debt, odious debt that we kept talking about. And you're never going to solve this problem this way. Never.
Jimmy, do I hear you to be saying that all these monies, these mind-boggling amounts that we're referring to, are actually being borrowed to pay debt?
You see, I can't see anything else. It's not coming back to us. The same budget appropriation said that this year we are going to pay debts of 1.652 trillion.
Yes.
The Gazette notice that I'm referring to, which came out a month later in July, said that amount has changed to 1.751 trillion. Right? The minister, CS Finance last week, said they have had to now start adjusting their budget because of loss of exchange to increase our debt servicing by another 215 billion shillings. So we are saying, if you add those amounts, that this year alone so far, you're talking about 2 trillion going towards debt.
Are we able to trace and see? So this money that has been borrowed over the last 12 months, because we already know legally, constitutionally, Kenya would borrow for development.
Yes.
Okay. Like, we can't see where this money that has been borrowed has gone specifically towards development. From what you're saying in the books, we don't see projects that are linked directly to that money. Now, this money that has been borrowed essentially is, as you say, going out to pay debt that was there before. Would it be okay, and I say okay very carefully, if the money that was borrowed, then we see that it is actually going towards a particular project here, a particular project there, somewhere else, then would we be able to, be a little bit more comfortable with the situation?
You know the one thing I'm loving about this exercise is that every day I think we get more and more educated. And, as we progressed along the way, we're doing a lot more math. We're doing more and more numbers. CT, and I know you like numbers. We're doing more and more numbers. So we've taken, I'm glad you're talking about the last 1 year. We've taken the last 10 years up to June 2023. All right? And we've said, you know what a deficit is. The deficit is a shortage between our revenue and our expenditure.
Yep.
So we said, okay, what has exactly been our tax revenue? How much have we collected over the last 10 years in tax? How much have we paid? Wananchi. The amount is 13.38 trillion. All right? These are actuals, not estimates.
In 10 years.
Actuals in 10 years, right? To June 2023. Then we took our expenditure. So, what was our development expenditure? You're asking about development. 6 trillion. All right? What are our recurrent expenditure? We removed debt payments. So remove all the debt payments. And you put in our salaries, our pensions, our allowances, all these largesse of government, wanatembea everywhere, flying everywhere, all these things, you put them all there. And on top of that, you add all the county expenditure. All right? For every single county over the last 10 years. The total comes to 14.6 trillion. Sasa CT, you are a good mathematician.
Well, 20.6 trillion.
What is the deficit?
Deficit ni nyingi.
Minus. Minus.
I've already minused. My friend, there's a 6.6 trillion deficit.
No. How?
If our revenue is
13.3.
Expenditure
13.38. Right.
Expenditure for development.
Total expenditure.
Yes.
Total without debt.
20.
Total expenditure without debt. Right?
That is development plus recurrent.
Development plus recurrent.
That's 20.6.
Plus, no. Development, you must have taken wrong figures. Development is 6 trillion.
Yes. Recurrent?
Right? Recurrent expenditure.
14.6.
No. I think I was telling you the total.
Yes.
So, development is 6 trillion.
Yes.
In there, you add county expenditure. Right? to 6 trillion. You add county expenditure, you add all the allowances, all the salaries, all everything. The total, inclusive of development, comes to 14.6. Yes.
So
all right.
14.6 minus 13 point.
Correct.
That is 1.3.
Correct.
So that's the total deficit.
That's the total deficit. Correct? So how much did we borrow?
Over the last 10 years?
Yes. Shall I give you the figure?
Yes.
7.7. 7.7.
Okay.
Trillion.
The question is, this 6.6 for development.
Just before you go there,
was it tax financed, all of it, or was some of it?
In fact, that's what I want us to get to. So, if we had a deficit, a shortfall of 1.3, we borrowed 7.7, which means we borrowed 6.4 trillion above what we needed. All right? Above what we needed. Now, that 1.2, you're asking Eric about development. If our 6 trillion, right, was the development expenditure, 1.2, 1.3 would have been about 20% of the development budget. 10% is 6.6.
Yes.
It's about 20% of development budget. So 80% of our taxes would have been able to pay
to cover
development. Are we together? Now, we borrowed 6.4, correct?
Yes.
Above
the deficit.
Above the deficit. Now, 1.2 is a deficit of 10 years. So 6.4 is the deficit of how many years? Correct.
So
like 60 years. No, like 60 years.
Times 6.
All right? No, 10 years with 1.2.
Right.
So the 6 is another 60 years.
I'm still stuck on that.
And you actually...
I'm still stuck at the 6.
6 trillion?
Yeah. The development expenditure that you've calculated, was it all tax financed? That's 6 trillion shillings.
You see, let me put it categorically this way. That if we had a deficit of 1.2, 1.3, you can say that 80% of it was tax financed. 20%
was borrowed.
20, 25% was borrowed, which is in keeping with our laws. Are we together? Yes. But we still borrowed an extra 6.5 trillion above what we needed. And that's, Eric, the point I want you to catch.
And where did it go to?
That's the big question. That 6.5 trillion, right, is a deficit of the next 60 years.
So what you're saying essentially is that we're not getting out of this hole.
We're not getting out of this hole.
Paying back this amount of money and it's 60 years essentially of
somebody has made sure we have borrowed for the next 60 years. Spent it now. We don't know on what. We can't get out of it unless we address this odious debt. We can't. This is a never-ending problem. It will not end. This pain we are feeling is not going to go away. You know, it's just not going to go away. You're not going to tax your way out of this problem of 60 years forward. We are not. That is a reality.
Let's take a break. 29 minutes to 9. Jimmy Wanjeke is our guest this morning. We are talking about the state of the economy. We've started on that issue. All right, back to that one. Odious debt. We have borrowed this much. Did we spend that much of the borrowings on development expenditure as is required by law? Those are the questions we are asking ourselves. But let's take a tea break. This one is called the Brookside Dairy Best Tea Break. City. You know, when you talk about Kenyan tea, and even the last time you were here, Jimmy, I think we were still talking about the Kenyan tea. Yes. Chai ya Kenya.
Oh, inapendwa everywhere.
Yeah. The one where you make the tea by boiling water, weka majani.
Boil.
Let it boil.
Bubble. Add milk.
Apple.
Boil.
Okay.
Bubble. Okay? Then let it simmer.
Okay.
Then, thereafter, when you do the needful and you have poured it into a cup of tea, of tea, because tea is in the cup.
Yes.
My friend, it's good tea, yes, when you have milk, but when you have dairy best milk, which is rich and creamy, then you have just about the best tea that Kenya can offer. That is what we now refer to as chai kweli.
Chai kweli. I must say I'm hearing it for the first time here.
Yes. Chai kweli is dairy best. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Wametengeneza barabara siko nyua, siko sawa, siko tunafurahia sana.
Mwaka huu ndio tumeweza kuonekaniwa. Tunashukuru kuja kuwekewa kapro.
Mzigo ni soko. Ukifikisha mzigo soko in time, hiyo ndio muhimu.
Kenya Roads Board is committed to ensure an efficient road network for a prosperous nation. Your fuel levy at work.
Some very nice, mature music.
They really take me back to my days and I can just feel young again and enjoy the vibes.
Spice.
I'm a big listener of Spice FM.
They play the best music.
This is 94.4 Spice
The clouds are
FM.
hovering. It's 17 degrees. We'll see highs of 23 and lows of 15 in Nairobi. 17 and sunny in parts of Nakuru, but the rain is coming in heavy. Partly sunny at 17 in Nyeri. And looking into Eldoret, the cloudy conditions go through at 16. It is partly sunny in Mombasa right about now. We'll see highs of 29 and lows of 24, and the same in Malindi, I beg your pardon, mostly cloudy at 26. Looking into a partly sunny Kisumu, the clouds are beckoning as well, going to highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 27 as well in a partly cloudy Kakamega, currently at 20. Looking out to Kampala, it's 19, a chance of rain, and it's raining heavily in Dar es Salaam at 25. We'll see highs of 28, but the rain seems to go through the whole of Monday. Looking into a mostly cloudy Mogadishu, it's 28 degrees, and Addis Ababa is 15 degrees. We'll see highs of 23. And Johannesburg is partly sunny at 18 with highs of 27, and we'll see mostly cloudy conditions with a chance of rain at 26 in Lagos, going to highs of 32. 31 will be the high in a mostly cloudy Kinshasa, currently at 23. It's heavy on James Gishoro. That was coming all the way through from Gitanga Road, and then beyond that, Naivasha Road seems to have now been limited to just within Lavington, coming in from Zima Springs. But look at what's happening all the way as you cross Waiaki Way and then go through towards Kuna Road and then all the way through towards Kitisuru, out then towards Westlands. There is some major drama happening. Already being told that this is because of the poor state of some roads. We're looking at General Mathenge with an issue. We're looking at Peponi Road with some problems. And so folks are moving a lot slower than they normally would, coming in from Lower Kabete, going out through towards Mwanzi Road. It's not fun. If you can avoid this area, don't add to the traffic that's already there. You might have to use the long route, but please do it so we get out of this traffic that's happening through towards Westlands, out into Lavington and these areas. Yes, Kitisuru is also so heavy coming out through towards Westlands. So that's one to watch for this morning, as is the Thika Superhighway. It's still heavy coming through towards the Pangani Underpass. It's one for the books this Monday morning. Let's try to be safe, even as we try to maneuver the roads, and we'll talk on Spice FM. KE on X.
Spice FM, Nakuru. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. right.
Our conversation continues with Jimmy Wanjeke, businessman, politician. We are talking about the state of the economy. So, yeah, it's the issue of debt, borrowed debt, and where we are at right now. So, the Kenya Kwanza government is borrowing. In some cases, we're hearing, they're looking at how to borrow cheaper loans to repay the expensive loans and to regularize this whole issue of very expensive loans that we have. Do they make sense?
No.
Why not?
As I said earlier, they can't regularize 60 years forward of debt. You can't. There's no institution that can give you that sort of money to pay things that you cannot account for. It's just not possible. It's not possible. And when you look at what they're doing, I've seen some newspaper clips, so-called from Treasury, others in the international media, talking about, for example, the Eurobond.
Yep.
That is going to be refinanced by more commercial money.
Yeah.
I even saw one of the banks called Trade and Development Bank saying they will contribute.
Yep.
Trade and Development Bank is one of those banks that, for your information, gave us money in 2019. On one day in February 2019, Trade and Development Bank gave us 4 tickets of loans of $1.25 billion. 4 tickets, which means $5 billion in one day in February 2019.
For what?
Your guess is as good as mine.
What was the tenure for that loan?
Or what are the terms of the loan?
10 years.
What interest?
Huge interest. 11-12%. Huge interest. You didn't know about it, right?
11%.
You didn't know about
over
it.
Over 10 years.
You didn't know about it.
Where
for
was
500 billion shillings.
Yes.
How did you?
It's in the books.
Whose books?
Treasury. If you look at all the books, they publish all the debt. It's there.
So it's hidden in plain sight, essentially,
Yes.
is what we are saying.
Yes. Yes. Now you tell me.
Is that
if that is the bank, and that's a bank that was so-called capitalized to the extent of 8 billion.
That's a bank that's with deep pockets and willing to give us loans.
Do they have
That's
deep
fine.
pockets?
What's the problem?
Clearly they do.
It's so-called a Commercial Bank.
Well, 500 billion in a day.
That has,
it would appear they do have some kind of money to give
No,
out.
5 billion, not 500.
$5
billion
USD.
Yes.
Yes.
So 500 billion
500
shillings.
They were
billion Kenyan shillings.
capitalized at,
Well, more than-
at 8 billion.
Correct.
Yeah.
How does a bank lend you more than half of what it is capitalized?
Capitalized
Yes.
on, exactly.
Does that not leave that bank in a lurch?
Correct.
Indeed. And one must ask.
And are you
then
the only client the bank
that they
has?
have?
Correct.
And did the money actually get to Kenya?
These are the questions we're asking. Because we don't know what it has been used for. But we're paying it back expensively every year. We don't know what it was used for. It was taken in one day. At least even the Eurobonds we heard about.
Is this unprocedural?
Completely.
What's the procedure?
Completely unprocedural.
How?
But we've been through the procedure. You want us to go back there again?
Yes,
About
please.
how Parliament approves all loans? Parliament approves all loans.
Okay.
Right? And all loans can only go towards development.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
You can't go for consumption.
Okay.
And development has got to be in the budget.
Okay.
You show me where trade and development appears in any development expenditure in the budget of that year, 2019. It doesn't exist. Does not exist. I think you saw the controller budget the other day talking very well. She said we are fulizaing to go and drink in the bar. Okay, those were her exact words.
Yes, they were.
Jimmy, let me ask this question. This one I ask purely out of ignorance.
Yes.
I thought the control of budget is the one who decides whether money
To
is
spend.
paid or
Yeah.
yes. Is it not her who decides?
You know,
Or is there somebody else who decides?
You see, at the end of the day, technically, there is no expenditure out of the consolidated fund
without
her signature.
Yes, exactly.
But she's saying, and in fact, I don't want to criticize her. All right? She's singing like a canary. All right? She's saying there is a problem here. All these things, all these numbers, something is not adding up. So maybe she's approving things and asking for details and she never gets them.
Yeah.
I thought you asked for details before approving.
Yeah, and you're told, okay, this is coming, so you get an email or something. Then you say, we're going to follow up with this, and then you never see it.
But she can say
there
no.
seems to be a fundamental problem.
Sure.
And my fundamental problem goes to this. I believe, right, there are two budgets. There's one which all of us see as the national budget, and there's another one that the Treasury does. That's why we pass loans this year of 313 external loans and grants, 313 billion. And then the National Treasury, a month later, publishes that external loans and grants are 870. You see, there seems to be two budgets.
All for which money cannot be spent.
Yes.
Without the nod of the COB.
How do you know? How do you know all of it is entering the consolidated fund?
All right, so we're saying that
our experience with looking at the Eurobond, it did not enter consolidated funds.
So what you're saying, if you're going to enter the realm of speculation, because that's what we're doing right now, is that it's possible that there's another kitty from which money is spent, and because it is not the consolidated fund, that it does not require the okay of the COB to then be able to spend that money. Because if it's in a consolidated fund, by virtue of her office, she's the one then who will say, you can spend. So are you saying there's another fund somewhere?
I would really love you to answer just this one question. In June, Parliament passed a budget.
Yes.
The appropriations bill. All right? And they said the government is allowed to borrow 313 billion shillings. External loans and grants. Those are the only loans passed by Parliament.
So what was that?
A month later, the National Treasury gazettes, as a point of information, in its statement of exchequer account, where they put, we collected tax revenue of so much, we did this, we did that. They put external loans and grants of 870 billion. Please tell me whose budget that is.
Does it happen? Has it happened before?
Yes, this is the trend that has been there before.
Because
and we've been saying it. The odious debt.
I'm sitting back, Jimmy, and I'm thinking, by the time Parliament is passing this budget, it was passing a budget which had a deficit of around 800 billion shillings. Or thereabouts. Projected revenues of 2.8 trillion, expenditures of 3.6 trillion. So obviously, deficit financing was going to be borrowing.
Okay, if you are to follow the law, what is the deficit on?
It's on projected expenditure versus projected revenue.
But the deficit can only be on the development budget.
Yes.
For projects.
Okay.
The project's total was 807 billion.
Okay.
So how do you have a deficit of 800 plus billion? How?
Okay.
So you don't do development
So
then?
essentially what you're saying
Don't
is
do
that
development.
So 800 billion shillings is going to be borrowed for development. That's how it sounds to me.
800?
Yes.
Yeah, but Parliament only passed 300.
That's what I'm asking. So at the point that Parliament is passing 300 billion shillings, what does it expect the government to do with the rest of the deficit?
In fact, that's the whole question. What deficit?
Is 800 billion.
Because it can't be 800 billion for projects. So that means Parliament is passing something that is unconstitutional. Because they themselves have listed projects at 807 billion. They said 400 plus was going to come from our tax revenue. So they've already appropriated it out of our tax revenue.
Okay.
And they said 313 was to
borrowed.
come from external loans and grants.
All right.
All right? A month later, Treasury is telling you that we are borrowing external loans and grants of 870. And you're saying they had said the deficit is 800. Of what? How do those figures match up?
According to what Parliament passed, we can assume that the deficit was at 313, which they borrowed.
Correct.
So
That's it.
This additional 500.
But guys, how can
Yeah,
that be a
where?
deficit?
Sorry?
No,
How can the deficit be 300 when you are passing a budget that you are going to spend 3.6 trillion and you expect your revenues to be 2.8 trillion? That is where the deficit is.
No, but what does the law tell you? you can only have a deficit in development because that's the only place you can borrow. You can't borrow for consumption. You can't borrow to pay loans.
Okay.
You can only borrow for development.
Okay.
So if you have a deficit, it's only in development.
Okay.
Yes. So anything outside of that is odious debt, is illegal debt.
Okay. Are there projects?
It's an illegal deficit.
Are there projects
and that's
that are
the point.
in this budget?
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Are already borrowed for.
Yes.
Like carryover projects.
No. What happens is that, you see, when the government issues this budget policy statement, right? In about February.
Yeah.
Please understand, and this is something I had an argument with some people in the Treasury the other day, and they came back to confirm I was right. The budget policy statement you see coming out in February of 2023, for example, this year, is not even for this budget. The deficit is for the next budget. So that you're given enough time to source for revenue from outside sources to plug in the hole for those development projects. It's for development. All right?
Okay.
For development. You can't have a deficit for something else. That's the law. That's the law. So what is happening is that people are not doing their numbers. Even the parliamentary committees are not doing their numbers. And if they are, right, they're ignoring what they're seeing.
Okay.
And they are continuing. And that's why I'm saying I am now talking about the regime of William Samoei Ruto. They are continuing, right, the impunity of the last 10 years. And they are sinking us into a much deeper hole than you can ever imagine at a faster rate. They are collapsing this economy with what they are doing. They are not addressing the real issue. And the real issue is we have taken debt over and above what we should have taken. That is debt that is going to be with us for the next 60 years. That did not go towards anything, right, that we approved. And if we don't deal with it square on, you are going to collapse this nation of ours economically. And that collapse is going to come in the form, first and foremost, because you're going to see these tax revenues are going to get him nowhere. It is going to come with something called default. And when that happens, right, and I think the COB is ringing the gengele. Hapa kuna shida. Kuna shida. When it happens and it starts coming to Do's bank account and her M-Pesa, right, and anything she does, because you're going to start being told haircut, I want to see what Kenyans will do at that point. Because it means categorically that he's going to make us pay for what we never approved, that has never come for our benefit, right? And going to sink us further than these taxes are already sinking us.
A question that I continually ask is this, that it's clear, you know, as it's always said, the law is very clear. All right, constitutionally, what a country should be able, what Kenya is able to do when it then comes to borrowing is clear. I don't think anybody is going to dispute that. It's understood. But, and I mean, surely if there's a development at whatever level, you should then be able to see this development, that I know this is what it was for. It was to put up low-cost housing in 47 counties around the country. We should be able to see, even at least, at the very least, a plan for that. And we borrowed to have that done. Or we borrowed to have, to dam excess waters. We borrowed, you know, we should be able to see it. Now, in the event that that doesn't happen, the assumption is then the money that was borrowed, because it's not a matter of we want to borrow, it's the money was actually borrowed. In the event that that doesn't happen, the assumption is that that money that was borrowed was not put towards that project. For me, the crux of the matter here is then, why is that question not being asked? Where did this money go?
Exactly, do. Now, I want to give a graphic example of something that we all know, called SGR. SGR is a mirror of exactly what you've just asked, Ndo. Exactly what you've asked. Now, I have the contracts, CT. So I don't know why people say they can't get contracts. Yes, I have the contracts.
The real ones, or like
Yes, the real ones.
The top cover of the
No,
thing?
the real ones.
A photocopy of the one C.S. Murkomen.
No. C.S. Murkomen, I think, only gave a photocopy of the finance, the MOU on finance.
You have the contract,
isn't it?
How did you
He
get
only
it?
gave the MOU on finance, which of course I have. Talking about 3.8 and eventually 1.2, about $5 billion, right?
Yeah.
There were 2 contracts for finance.
Yes.
Right? Mombasa, Nairobi, Dukamoja.
Naivasha.
Is it Naivasha?
Yeah, we call it Naivasha.
But the place is called Dukamoja.
We call it Naivasha.
It has one shop.
Lowlands.
No, it's a place with one shop.
We call it Naivasha.
Okay. So, now, no, City, you can read. This is read the heading.
All right.
Of course.
Photocopy. It's not written photocopy, I'm telling you it's photocopy. Republic of Kenya, Ministry of Transport. Construction of the civil works of Mombasa Nairobi Standard Gauge Railway Project, EPC turnkey commercial contract between Kenya Railways Corporation and China Road and Bridge Corporation, contract document, July 2012. Managing Director, Kenya Railway Corporation, PO Box 30121, Nairobi.
So this is contract between Kenya Railway and China Road and Bridge Construction.
Correct. And this is for
the turnkey project of Nairobi, Mombasa, Nairobi.
Yes.
Jimmy, before you go on, how did you get this contract?
What do you mean, how did I get it?
Yeah, I mean, how did you get the contract?
I think I have been in public space telling you that I had a lot to do with SGR.
Okay.
Not this SGR, but a private SGR.
Okay.
And in fact, the principle of the feasibility study and all that was my baby. Right? And the SGR I envisaged was one that was never funded by public money, but by private money. That was going from Mombasa all the way to Malaba at a cost of about 55 billion shillings.
You'll tell us about
And
how
we
did you
and
get
we
this
and we
contract?
and we no listen. And I was working with the same company called China
Road and Bridge Construction Company.
Now, these contracts were submitted even to Parliament after we raised a lot of queries in 2013. You guys just don't know where to look for things. They're there. These formed.
So all these people in Okoa, Mombasa, who have been going to court and all, should just go to Parliament.
Yes. These things even formed the basis of the original court case. Trying to stop SGR, which Justice Lenaula threw out and said, how did you get these contracts? Kenya Railways is not saying they are not theirs, but there isn't evidence of how you got them. So they were thrown out. And the case then went on to appeal. And in 2020, the Court of Appeal said, this is an illegal contract. These are illegal contracts and nullified SGR. 2 years later, 3 years later, the Supreme Court says SGR is okay. In fact, they say there is no contract. It's the Supreme Court. I mean, this was the most amazing ruling. They said that there's no contract between Kenya Railways and China Road and Bridge. The contract is government to government between the government of China and the government of Kenya.
So the Supreme Court says there's no such contract.
There's no such contract.
And
so this thing, so this thing you're holding is Bonoko.
But,
yes.
But according to what you're saying is that the standard, the railway was built on this contract, which is nonsense.
Yes.
But how can
this one and this one? There are two contracts.
If our Supreme Court has looked at all documents,
this is the $1 million question,
and established that this thing does not exist, what is this thing?
This is the $1 million.
The question I want to ask is, what documents did they look at?
I don't know.
All documents that are presented before them.
And then upon which contract
the valid
was
one
the
is G2G.
railway built?
Was that the sum total of the documents?
It was the G2G.
We don't know whether they just decided that the only one they've seen is this one, the finance. I don't know, because that one is the only one that says Government of Republic of Kenya, National Treasury, and Exim Bank of China. We don't know whether they chose to say this is the contract.
So the other two contracts, photocopies of contracts that you have,
yes,
state that it is between China Road and Bridge Company
and Kenya Railways.
Yes.
I see.
Because who was the contracting authority?
Look at that thing. Look at signatures. Does it have signatures? Jimmy,
Don't worry, Jim is going to give it to me. And I will
show signatures. Was it signed? We want to establish that we are discussing a legitimate document.
not just of whichever light industry.
yes. Go through the contract value, and then you see at the end here all the signatures and even the dates. Everything is here.
And the initialing of all the pages.
Oh, yeah. Everything is here. You can see.
They've been initialed.
Oh, yeah.
And then there are signatures.
Oh, yeah.
And stamps and seals.
This is the letter now from Kenya Railways to Standard Letter of Award. Letter of award and acceptance thereafter.
You want to read this?
I think just read the amounts. Letter of award for what? And the amounts.
All right. This is 99 based on the amount of, let me just read it. 2220, comma, 921, comma, 502, comma, 2221. This is
222 billion.
This
921
for what
million,
specifically?
502,222.1.
This is for the construction of the civil works of the Mombasa Nairobi Standard Gauge Railway project.
Civil works.
Civil works.
Yes.
Thank you. Turn the next page. Yes.
This was letter of award.
And that is?
Acceptance of award.
Right.
Yes.
Of the same amount?
Yes. They're referring to the letter, that one which I just read, dated 10th July 2012.
Right.
Awarding the above caption project to our company. We hereby. Now this one is signed, the person is a gentleman called Nduva Muli, Managing Director, Kenya Railway Corporation. Right?
That's addressed to him.
Yes, it's addressed
from
to
who?
Him. The person is L.I., that's this person's first name. Then the other is Q-U-I-N-G. Lee
Kingpin.
No, it's Lee Kiang. Okay, General Manager, China Road and Bridge Corporation.
Okay.
Kenya.
Now I'm a sign.
Award.
Even stamp.
Okay, now go through all the pages, right to the last page. Are they all signed?
Equal letterhead.
Are they all signed? Are they all signed?
Are they all signed?
Yes.
Are they all signed initialed at the bottom?
Yeah, they're initialed at the bottom.
Go right to the last page.
Yeah, 20 seconds.
Yeah, there's a squiggly thing and then a signature. Yes. Next page.
All of them. Go to the mpaka the last
final page. Does it?
So you now see the signatures at the
final page. Has signatures galore. Kenya Railways, Engineer Solomon Ouna, Alfred Madheka, Engineer David Modali, Ms. Marian Kaitan, Mr. Stanley Gitari. Then for China Road, there's Mr. Yang Jie, then Mrs. Yong Shi Ling, Mo Yong Nian, and Zhou Yi Hua. Yes, those are the people who've
Eric, are you happy?
Aye, let's do the news first. We'll be back. It's 9 a.m. Jimmy stays on for the next hour.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. The Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education that kicked off today is progressing well in terms of the county in 260 examination centers. The Deputy Commissioner of Saboti, Nicholas Kijuba, has said that approximately 23,914 candidates are taking the exam, 12,105 being boys and 11,809 girls. Kijuba has said that there are 51 adults candidates who are taking the exam, among them 23 men and 28 women.
We have 260 institutions sitting for the exams. All those schools have been given security. So far, everything is okay. The weather is conducive. I believe we are not going to have any challenges with the rains, because for the county we've not received the El Nino rain so far. The rains we've received are moderate and our roads are clear. So we believe everything will run smooth and we are going to have the examinations reach the destinations. Then we'll get them back back. The county has 23,000 candidates, 11,000 girls and 12,000 boys.
It said that security has been heightened in those 260 centers and that appropriate strategies have been put in place to prevent any fraud.
All the centers have been assigned the way the NEC rules required. 2 police armed officers, there's a center manager, and we have invigilators in place according to the rules of NEC. We've also put in place a mechanism to make sure that those candidates who may have challenges are taken care of. We have standby vehicles to make sure that in case there's a candidate who is unwell, we have in place a mechanism to make sure that all the candidates in the county are going to sit for the exam.
In an effort to improve the economic status of the youth and women in Kakamega County, Kakoma has sponsored 28 women and youth with motorcycles. The executive director of the organization in Kakamega County, Robert Rotich, has said that their purpose is to see young people become self-sufficient in life and also to reduce crime in the area.
Hii ni product moja ambayo imeweza kusaidia kuteka uchumi katika eneo hili la Magharibi, ambapo unapowekeza shilingi 15,000 unanufaika na pikipiki mpya ambao utalipia kwa muda wa miezi 24. Na niseme kwamba kati ya wale vijana ile zaidi ya 2,000 ambao wameweza kunufaika, tumeweza kuona watu wameweza kujiendeleza kimaisha.
Teachers asked those who have benefited from the motorcycles to observe traffic rules. Now, as the rains continue to cause damage and death in various parts of the country, northeastern leaders now want the government to declare the rains a national disaster. In a press conference, the leaders, through their chairperson UDM party, Ali Roba, have explained that they were more affected by the rains as bridges were washed away, roads were destroyed, houses were flooded, and some people died. Mandera South is among the most affected, with more than 4,000 families affected.
Whatever happened and the briefing that was given to His Excellency the President, we don't know. Later the President made a statement saying, we are grateful to God that that El Nino situation that was forecasted is no more. However, we are here to make a very firm statement that the situation as it is in these counties are worse than the 1997 El Nino period.
Mandera Governor Mohamed Khalif has expressed fear of waterborne diseases.
Baada ya hii mafuriko tutakuwa na shida kubwa ya mlipuko wa magonjwa kama kipindupindu ama magonjwa ya kuendesha, na pia wale ambao watazaliwa kutokana na athari hii ya mvua ni hatari kwamba tutaweza kuwa na malaria ambayo itaweza kuleta matatizo mengi kule.
In Tana River County, more than 200 families have been left homeless after their homes were washed away due to the ongoing rains. The rains have also affected activities in Mombasa County.
Usaidizi wowote na tumesikia county pesa zimekuja za kusaidia watu mafuriko.
Sasa tumeamka asubuhi tunashangaa watu wameacha makao, hawana vyakula, hawana chochote, wamebakia mabarabarani, watu wamejazana mabarabarani, watakula wapi?
Mvua ikinyesha tu sisi tuko katika shida. Si mara ya kwanza wala si mara ya pili tushaharibikiwa na vitu ndani ya nyumba.
Ile maji inapojaa mpaka sewage inapanda, maji ya mavi na turegelea kwa nyumba na watoto. Na this incident mara nyingi inatendeka usiku wa manane. Sasa niambie usiku wa manane utapata nafasi wapi?
And at least 17 people have died while 14 others have sustained varying degrees of injuries in the ongoing rains that started in mid-October. This is according to Kenya Red Cross report that also detailed at least 1,009 livestock deaths in the same period. The ongoing rains, which are expected to last until January, have also impacted 10,277 households across the country, wreaked havoc on 84 latrines and destroyed 221 acres of agricultural land. This is News Web. Dennis Asada, good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so here we are still looking at heavy traffic through this whole Westlands. Oh my goodness, look at that, folks. Look at James Gishuru, still very heavy. So, road work took place about 2 weeks ago, and now it has rained. So folks are having to go through a gully and then over the hill and then try to cross Waiyaki, where you're going to get stuck on Kuna Road and then out towards Red Hill. It's very messy because as you come out from the other side, right around Karura, you get stuck. You're also stuck coming in from Lower Kabete through towards Spring Valley. Out behind Sarit Center there, General Madenge, is also an ocean. So, It's a sticky morning, really, in terms of traffic, and it looks like it's going to take some time. By now, normally we should have been out of the traffic on the thicker superhighway. That's not happening, at least not for yet, not now. The service lanes will help you until you get to Survey, and then you have to go through the trickle of traffic through into the CBD. Juja Road is heavy. It's also heavy coming off of Landis and then touching on the Kamkunji roundabout. That's what we're looking at now. Let's see what happens in about half hour. We should be able to make our way through it. Schools are closed, and yet it's still so heavy. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on X. We still try to keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
8 minutes after 9, we're on to the final hour of the Situation Room. Jimmy Wanjege is still here with us. Jimmy, Kiwi is telling you, if you purchase Kiwi, all right, for use, polishing your shoes, you stand a chance of actually helping somebody. This is not you, because your children are no longer in school. Helping somebody pay school fees if they win 35,000 bob. Okay. And it's very simple. Purchase Kiwi. Open the lid. Under the lid, there will be a code. That code, follow the instructions on the top of the lid. And the instructions tell you, dial *459 *5#. Then follow the instructions, insert that code. Once you insert the code, the first thing that happens is you instantly win airtime or data. Second thing that happens, you instantly get into a draw, which happens once every week, and there are 4 winners every week of 35,000 shillings worth of school fees.
Wonderful.
All you need to do is decide which school and which pupil benefits.
Wonderful. Oh, that's a great program by them.
See?
Yes. You ought to support.
Buy several.
That one will support.
I can give you a list of.
That will support. No, that's innovative.
It is.
Very innovative.
Sindio?
Kabisa.
Yeah.
Kabisa.
It's all happening courtesy of Kiwi Shoe Polish. City, did you give Jimmy the proverb today, by the way? No, we didn't.
Jimmy, when I was about to give the proverb, Jimmy gave us the talk. So I listened to the talk and I figured this one, I don't want to interrupt this one because it was making sense.
Okay.
But now that we've come up for air, let me give you the proverb.
Please.
Our proverbs for this week come from the Republic of Congo, otherwise known as the Congo, or known as Congo Brazzaville. Okay. Right. Even without drum beats, banana leaves dance.
Even without drum beats, banana leaves dance.
The wind. The wind.
Yep.
So you're saying we are blown by the wind?
Yes.
Is that you, CT? You go with the wind?
Sometimes, yes. It's important to go with the wind sometimes.
Yeah, depending on where it's going.
All the time, it's a bit tricky because even the wind vanes only go with the wind sometimes.
No, it means there's movement even without a drum beat.
Yes,
without the noise.
You see, it is assumed that the dancing has to go with the beat.
Yes.
But you forget that even the whistling of the wind has a beat.
Has a beat.
You may not think so. Should we say it has a rhythm?
Yeah.
Okay. And you can dance to a rhythm, not
Yes, you
necessarily
can.
a beat.
Yes.
Rhythm is the answer.
How come you never have any Kenyan proverbs?
I do.
You did?
I don't hear them.
I do.
A couple of weeks
Some Swahili ones.
I do. In fact, we're in Zanzibar and we had Swahili proverbs then.
Yeah.
Because they're very rich. Central and West Africa seem very rich in...
by the way, even Kenya, very rich in proverbs. Very. You see, what happens with these proverbs is this: you choose an area. Like we've been in East Africa. Now I'm moving out of East Africa, going to Central. Okay. Then when I move out of Central, then I will go to South. Then from the South, I'll go back to West. Then I'll come back to East.
And then North.
And then North.
I think when I've been here, you've always
and the
had
islands.
Either West Africa or Central Africa. So I guess that's why the question.
I think.
Alafu naona nguo yako. I think you're partial.
Well, you.
Anza kufaa kitenge. All right, back to our conversation.
Yeah.
So Jimmy is unleashing things this morning. He has unleashed what everybody has been looking for. Khalif Khalifa and the Okoa Mombasa movement have been. They've even gone to court. They're saying we are asking the government to give us the contracts pertaining to SGR.
They are doing a very good job, very good civil job.
We haven't received. Now you have the contract.
Yes.
You've given us one contract. This is on the civil works construction of the SGR from Mombasa to Nairobi.
Correct.
Contract of construction signed between Kenya Railways and the China Road and Bridge, and I call it China Road, Bridge, Airport, everything.
Correct.
Corporation.
Yes. Correct.
Okay?
Right.
You said there's a second contract.
There's a second contract. CT, please do the honors.
Yes, Republic of Kenya, Ministry of Transport. Supply. Familiar word in Kenya? Supply. Supply and installation of the facilities, locomotives and rolling stocks. What are rolling stocks? For the Mombasa-Nairobi Standard Gauge Railway project between Kenya Railway Corporation and China Road and Bridge Corporation. Contract document, October 2012. Yes, you're going to ask the question.
October 2012.
Yeah.
Mwai Kibaki was the president. The other one was dated what?
June 2012.
Okay.
Sawa? Now you want to know contract and agreement, seller's power of attorney. Long details. I know what you're going to ask. This contract was made the 4th of October 2012.
Okay.
All right. Signed, stamps. Even seal is there. It's very good. Now let's go to letter of award, shall we? I'm getting familiar with this thing. Right. Now, sum.
Who's written the letter of award?
The letter of award is written by China Road and Bridge Corporation. They are in a place called C88 Zoglu Plaza. It's a long word here.
Somewhere.
And why the GA Beijing, China. But that's exactly how it's written.
Okay.
I didn't eat anything.
You didn't? Okay.
Yes, okay. But it's in China.
Okay.
Okay, so if you go to C88, you'll find
You'll
them.
find them.
Okay, right. The amount in dollars is, in billions of dollars, 1.146791,008.7.
1.4?
1,146,791,008.75.
Right.
Alrighty.
Okay?
Okay.
That is the
amount
of award. Then there's the acceptance.
By Kenya Railways.
Sorry, CT, for what?
Supply of rolling stock.
Supply, let me read it. Supply and installation of facilities. Before the rolling stones, there were facilities.
Installation of facilities.
You're thinking music.
Yes, installation of facilities,
All right.
locomotives, as in Gariamoshi, rolling stocks.
Yes, as in?
Rolling stocks.
As in,
As in stocks which are rolling. For the Mombasa-Nairobi Standard Gauge Railway Project. And stop asking me questions, I can't
Jimmy,
answer.
what are those three things? What is facilities? What is locomotives? What is rolling stock?
Well, facilities are stations.
Okay.
Not the actual stations that you see constructed, but the railway station, where it docks the mechanics.
Okay.
Every time it comes to a sort, the electrical.
The signaling and all.
Yes.
Okay.
Then you have rolling stock. Rolling stock is all part of the locomotives, really. It's just a nice big word.
So locomotives and rolling stock.
And rolling stock, it's the same thing.
It's the wagon.
It's a wagon.
It's the bogey.
Correct.
It's the bogey.
Yes.
Aye.
How much is the amount?
1.46. 1.146
billion
dollars.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Nairobi, Mombasa.
It's Nairobi, Mombasa.
Right.
Yes. And exclusive of value-added tax, custom duties, IDF fees, cess, and withholding tax.
That's the same with the civil contract.
Yes, same.
No taxation.
No taxation.
No.
All right. Signed by the same individual.
Okay.
who had signed before.
Okay.
And addressed to the same managing director.
Okay.
Right. Now, I want you to read the first part of this is now the finance agreement.
Finance agreement.
That was signed in August 2013.
What is a finance agreement?
Now, this is what puts together, and this is what this is what Makoman brought out.
Okay.
Right? This agreement.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
This is now the finance agreement to finance both the rolling stock and the civil works for the construction of SGR from Mombasa to Nairobi.
So this is the document that itemizes it?
No.
In terms
just
of
the finance.
This is the one that
just
says where is the money going to come
Where
from?
is it going to
the
come
money is
from?
coming from this place.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Who is going to pay China Road and Bridge and blah, blah,
to
do this job for which they've been contracted?
Yes.
Okay.
Aye.
So that you are clear that these two contracts are the ones covered
by the
finance agreement done in August 2013.
Huruto 1.
Correct.
Okay.
Please read the first paragraph. This one. Whereas. After whereas.
Okay. Let me just mention, this is the Memorandum of Understanding on Financial Support for Mombasa Nairobi Standard Gauge Railway Project between the Government of the Republic of Kenya, represented by the National Treasury, and Export-Import Bank of China.
Okay.
Whereas, Kenya Railway Corporation, herein referred to as KRC, and China Road and Bridge Corporation, herein referred to as CBC, have entered into on July 11th and October 4th, 2012.
What are the contracts?
Those are those two. Mm-hmm.
Those two.
July and October.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The commercial contracts on civil works and supply and installation of facilities, locomotives and rolling stocks for the Mombasa Nairobi Standard Gauge Railway Project, herein referred to as the project.
Okay.
With a total sum of US dollars 3.804 billion for the purpose of implementation of the project. The government of the Republic of Kenya is desirous to request
Sorry, what?
3.804 billion US dollars.
For the purpose of?
For the purpose of
Those two
implementing
contracts.
the project.
Is it those two contracts?
Yes, it is for those two.
So the 2.2 something and 1.14.
Combined is 3.804
Got it.
billion.
All right.
Are we together?
Gotcha.
As we say in Kenya? Tuko pamoja? Let me read this last one, Jimmy. Let's read it. The government of Kenya is desirous to request for financing support of China Exim Bank, which is conscious of the significance of the project on social and economic development of the Republic of Kenya, and is willing to provide financial support to implement the project after conducting a preliminary review.
Okay.
Signatories?
The signatories done at Beijing on this 19th day of
This
August.
was during President Uhuru's first visit to China.
Yes, August 2013. Mr. Henry Rotich, Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury of the Republic of Kenya.
Okay.
Signature. Then Mr. Sun Ping, Vice President of the Export-Import Bank of China, on behalf of the Export-Import Bank of China.
All right.
Those are the signatories.
Okay.
So Treasury and Exim Bank China have entered into a financing agreement.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, further to this agreement, in it says that 3.8 is 90% of the project cost. So that the Kenya government is to raise 10%, what they call self-raising finance, right, as its contribution.
Yeah, I'm confused by this math.
Why?
Because already those two contracts, my math shows me that it should be 3.4.
Why?
See, that one was 1.146 for rolling stock. And the other one was 2 point. Abu?
It was 220.
It was 220.
So it was 2.2.
So 2.2 billion
plus
dollars.
1.46
is
3.4.
It comes to 3.4.
So now here we are at 3.8, and the 3.8 is 90% of the total.
Yes.
I'm confused.
Yes. Don't be confused.
1.4 plus 2.2 is.
Don't be confused
3.6.
at all.
Yeah.
Because in this contract of civil works, there is something called non-binding BQs.
Okay.
Do you know what that means?
No.
A BQ is a bill of quantities.
Yes, but non-binding.
Of the amounts that of material that is needed for the project.
Okay.
So if you are saying, for example, Mombasa to Nairobi needs 10,000 steel bars of, let's say, 100 meters.
Yep.
Right? Okay?
Yep.
Steel
bars of 100
meters.
Yes.
10,000.
Yep.
Right? That becomes non-binding in this contract. Because as you go along the way, it may become 15,000.
It may increase, it may reduce.
Right? Non-binding normally has a clause that says, not non-binding, BQs always have a fluctuation clause that says maybe 10% variation.
Okay.
But this one is
binding,
which means as they are going along, the quantities may increase.
So the quantities are not fixed.
They are not fixed.
And if they're not fixed, the cost
then also the cost is not fixed.
All right.
Correct.
So are we providing for them?
What I'm showing here is a contract that was the basis of the finance agreement, but with a non-binding BQ. So an allowance seems to have been given for amounts, right, that may have come later in an addendum, which we don't know. Right?
So
which we don't know. But normally in law, in our laws of Kenya, you cannot vary a project more than 10%. Right? You cannot. But here, it became irrelevant.
So our math, according to what's on paper in those contracts, is $3.4 billion. The agreement is for $3.8 billion, which is a 90% component. This 3.8 is 90%.
Yes. 90%.
Okay.
And the Kenya government is to raise 10%.
What does 10% equate to?
So let's say the project is 3.8. No, 3.4. 10% should have been
3.8.
Let's say 3.8. So the Kenyan government should have raised 3.8. Yes.
3.8 billion is 90% of X.
Yes.
Okay.
So 380
what is
billion.
X?
380 billion.
Okay.
Right? Not 380.
No.
38 billion.
38 billion.
38 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
because we're going at 100. We're going at 100
billion.
shillings per dollar.
Correct.
Right? At that point.
Correct.
So you're looking at about 380 billion.
It's 3.8 times 1.9.
Yes. Yeah. So 38 billion.
Yes.
All right?
More or less.
Are we on the same page? Now
it's 4-point-something billion.
Now we've extrapolated that, right? Because in our books, the debt to China Exim Bank is $5 billion. An extension of 1.2 to this going to duka moja. Sio Kimau, duka moja. All right?
Okay.
So the total to duka moja is $5 billion. That's the loan we took from China Exim Bank.
Okay.
All right? Are we on the same page?
So far.
Mombasa
right.
too. Yeah.
So of that $5 billion, right, we've taken the exchange rate over the period, right, and calculated, right, that total cost, right, as 475 billion shillings.
Okay.
All right, so like the 380, and then you go to Dongakundu, I mean to Dukamoja, you have 474 billion shillings.
Okay.
Right? So the entire rail city from Mombasa all the way to Dukamoja, okay, is just under 500 billion shillings. All right? Now, China Exim Bank, according to the debt book, did advance us $5 billion.
Okay.
Which was 90%.
The debt book is at CBK.
Yes. And it's also tabulated as an item in the budget. So they advanced us $5 billion, which was 90% of the construction of the rail from Mombasa to Dukamoja, Naivasha.
Okay.
All right? Are we on the same page?
Are we on the same page? But I'm going to have to ask, did this money find itself in the consolidated fund?
Yes.
Okay.
It landed?
This one landed. Okay. How it landed is by drawdowns. So I'll give you an example, a graphic example. When China Road constructs, it provides to Kenya Railways certificates of payment. Right? Kenya Railways forwards those certificates of payments to the Treasury. The Treasury pays its 10%, right?
Yep.
Self-raising finance.
Okay.
On that certificate.
Okay.
And then issues a notice of drawdown to China Exim Bank.
Right.
Which then issues its payments directly
to China Road.
To China Road, yes, to China Road. From Exim Bank, China to China Road.
Okay.
So the notices of drawdown can be seen as a debit in the consolidated fund.
Yeah, right.
Are we together?
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Yep. So
we just did the math. As we keep saying, this thing is in plain sight.
Yeah.
It's in plain sight. It's just that our very good professionals here don't do the numbers. Right? This is simple math.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we looked at the debt and we said, were the notices of drawdown done according to the construction? Okay. We found, yes, they were.
So every time China Road would complete, issue its certificate to Kenya Railways.
Yes.
Kenya Railways would certify that yes, true, this has been done. Forward it to Treasury.
Yes.
Treasury would pay its bid.
Yes.
Forward this to Exim Bank. Exim Bank pays.
Would pay its bid.
Okay.
So Exim Bank paid China Road in bridge in full the $5 billion.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That it did. And we, in turn, have been paying a loan repayments to that, both interest and we started principal 2 years ago. All right?
Okay.
That is there. Good record. So then we audited what you call the self-raising 10% funds.
Yes.
The money that is granted by Treasury to Kenya Railways, 10% for the construction and for the locomotives.
Okay.
All right? And we did the sums. So if it was 470 billion is the Kenyan shilling value, the 10% amounts to what?
40 billion.
47 billion.
47 billion. It's 47 billion. But then, Jimmy, it's 470 billion is 90%. It's not 100%.
Yeah. No. This is now we've taken 100%.
Okay.
On 475. So we've taken the 5 billion plus our 10% raising.
Yeah.
It comes to 475.
Comes to this, yes. So of 475 billion,
10% is
47.5 billion.
Right. So we look for the 47.5 billion. And sure enough, before Treasury issued its notice of drawdown, it had to give evidence that it had paid the 10% self-raising finance.
Right.
So we just calculated. Okay?
Okay.
And do you know what that amount got to?
47.5 plus?
No, unfortunately not. Unfortunately not.
It's less.
This one I want you to read. This is the amount of our 10% contribution.
Okay. 644 billion shilling.
Yes.
644 billion.
That's a contribution.
That's our 10% contribution.
That's the 10%, which should have been 47.5 billion shillings.
We paid how much?
644 billion shillings. It was received by KRC, transferred to CRBC.
Okay.
Thank you. Does that answer your question?
And those are in our books.
Yes.
Okay.
In plain sight.
How do we explain
And I have all the documents. All the transfers, everything.
644, not 64.4.
No, 644 billion.
As opposed to
47.5
billion.
We were supposed to save to send 47.5.
47.5, but ended up sending
644.
Given our reputation for enormous generosity, we decided to give
10 times the
600
amount.
and how much again?
644 billion.
Okay.
Okay, Jimmy. With each certificate issued by China Road, right, and the corresponding payments, were you seeing a 10% correlation?
All they do, and this is what I'm saying.
Because
I think if you want to talk about a crime site, it is called the Treasury. What you see is one simple line: self-raising finance for SGR construction. They don't even put, it's not called 10%.
Okay.
It's just called self-raising finance.
SGR construction.
SGR construction.
Now, in your audit,
yes,
you should be seeing, so when they're issuing a certificate, the amount of money that China Road receives from Exim should correspond 10% with the amount of money that Treasury
according
has
to who?
to
According to who?
According to the
you see,
contract.
what you need to
you're
understand.
explaining.
What you need to understand is that they seem like they are different departments in the Treasury. There's one that is doing the drawdown for the loan.
Okay.
Right? Saying, oh, I've received the certificate, issue Exim Bank with the drawdown.
Yes.
And there is another that is paying the grant from Treasury as 10% contribution, so-called self-raising finance for contribution.
And what's Kenya Railways supposed to have done with this money?
Now, what they did,
CRBCC.
and it's also very well recorded, they paid China Road and Bridge.
So the money they received...
So China Road and Bridge received a total of 1.18 trillion shillings.
I'm confused.
644
plus
the $5 billion.
Right. That amount, the 644, Jimmy, I get it.
Yes.
This 644, when you're doing your audit and you're seeing a certificate has been issued and there's the process of the payments, at the point when the Treasury is releasing this amount, how much do they release to Kenya Railways? Were you seeing a variation or was it a constant figure?
No, it was not constant. There are different figures.
There are different figures.
There are different figures because certificates are different.
Because of different
They're
stages.
Different. So it's understood if they're different.
But then it would be corresponding. It would be if you're receiving 100 from China Exim, right? You should be receiving 10.
Okay,
from
who
Kenya
is
Railways.
supposed to do this audit?
See, that's what you are doing. I'm asking what.
All we did. How do
you see? Were you seeing?
All we did was this. What is the project cost?
5.
And how much money has been received?
Okay.
So did it receive the money from China Exim Bank? Yes, they did. Did they receive the self-raising finance
from the National Treasury?
National Treasury? Yes, they did.
And
what were the sums?
And some.
And some.
Yeah.
So we just did the numbers. Now, if you want us to cross-audit, right? That is an exercise for the Auditor General. That's an exercise for COB. That should have been their job. What we have are the claims for the project,
and
the certificates, and the payments.
So total payments were 1.2 trillion.
Almost 1.2 trillion that went to China Road and Bridge for a project of 475 billion. Now, what you need to understand
is that we paid more from our pockets than China Exim Bank paid.
Now you got it. We, Kenyans, with our taxes, financed that entire project and more. We did not even need a loan. That's the way you need to digest this.
Pana, no.
That's what you need to digest.
Pana, no.
Give us a minute.
We have to go back to this story. We have to start this story again from square one. We start again from square one. First of all, SGR equals ABCD. Then we come into contracts entered into between. No, Pana. Okay, no.
City, why are your hands up?
Tell him why we need. Serve him some tea.
Why are your hands up?
City needs a drink.
Serve this man some tea. Chai kweli. Wait, you tried the new formula.
I did.
Not the new formula, the actual formula for Kenyan tea. Tell us.
Who knew? So City had this thing whereby you put the tea leaves in the water
and then you let
it boils first.
Before you put the milk.
Then you introduce the milk.
Yes.
And I did that over the weekend.
What were you
voila.
doing before?
I was doing everything. Milk, water, tea leaves, then you
water,
boil
maji,
it, oil,
maziwa,
thing. Now I introduced this, and I've got to tell you, it's phenomenal. The taste is actually different. I even threw in some cardamom.
Because it boils longer.
Yeah.
With the milk and the lower boiling point,
it's infused.
It boils faster if you actually put all of them together. So the milk does not get too
infused.
So now tell us, how did you do it?
So I had the water and the tea leaves, and it boiled. It became, what did you call it? Chocolate brown in color.
Mm-hmm.
It did the thing, and then I introduced the milk, and then I lowered the heat, like you said, I paid attention, and then it simmered for a while. Then I put my cardamom and my things, and then now it really did the business. But it tasted significantly, and of course, really good milk, a lot of milk in it. And I strained everything, and it was chai kweli. And it was with Brookside Dairy Best.
Bas.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
We love to share our culture and the one language that unites us all. One that helps us start the day and keeps us going. Brookside Dairy Best is part of every celebration and offers a warm welcome to every home.
Karibuni chai.
Na hii ni lugha ambayo kila Mkenya anaelewa. The more the
James
milk,
Kishuro is doing the business
better.
this morning, guys. A very, very slow movements of traffic in and outbound. You're going to cross over Waiakiwe and then get out towards the Red Hill Link Road. It's still pretty messy and moving very, very slowly, trying to make its way through to Westlands, but then that's a hold up. And then Spring Valley, General Madenge, it's okay. If you can avoid it, please do, because it's still pretty messy right about now. And these are folks who've been there for a minute, so they have no choice but to get through it, right? The Thika Superhighway coming in heavy from Survey is still the thing. Landis Road is still very busy, and Uhuru Highway will take some traffic through to the city. And we're also seeing Langata Road with some traffic, folks coming off leaving Gong Road, but that's still busy now. So through the morning, probably we'll see some of this traffic last. Let us know what's going on through the day. Talk to us on Spice FM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
22 minutes to 10, time for our conversation to continue with Jimmy Wanjege, politician and businessman. We are talking about SGR today, and Jimmy has done a couple of things. So Jimmy has brought to us two contracts that were signed in 2012. This is a contract between Kenya Railways and China Road and Bridge Construction Company. One was for the civil works of building railway between Mombasa and Nairobi. The other one was for provision of rolling stock and locomotives and installing some facilities. Okay?
Plus the third one, which was the finance
the third
MOU.
one was a financing MOU signed in 2013 on how to finance those two contracts.
Correct.
This was signed by the National Treasury and the China Exim Bank.
Correct.
And the agreement was 5 billion.
No, 3.8.
3.8.
Yes.
$3.8 billion for that. But then going all the way to Dukamoja in Naivasha,
increased another 1.2.
So it became 5 billion.
Correct.
Okay. In that 5 billion, what we were supposed to do as the government of Kenya was to finance 10%
of that amount.
Yes.
Yes.
And you now looked at how the payments were being made.
Yes.
Every time China Road and Bridge will hit a milestone, an agreed milestone, they would present a certificate of completion to Kenya Railways.
Correct.
Kenya Railways would confirm that indeed you have actually hit this point and you are due to be paid. They present that to the Treasury.
Yes.
The Treasury says, all right, so here is our 10%. Kenya Railways pay China Road.
Yes.
And then after that, they send the same to China Exim Bank.
Yes.
And then China Exim Bank pays
the 90%.
The 90%.
Correct.
To China Road and Bridge Construction.
Correct.
Total.
Yes.
Okay. In total, you say that
our 10% contribution.
Our 10% contribution should have been 47.5 billion shillings.
Correct.
We ended up paying 644 billion shillings. That's what you find in the books.
Correct.
The books of the National Treasury.
Yes.
And Exim Bank paid China Road how much?
$5 billion.
$5 billion. 500 billion shillings, let's say.
Roughly.
For roughly that.
Different exchange rates.
So then $500 billion should have been a 90% contribution.
Yes.
644 billion shillings. 500 billion shillings should have been a 90% contribution.
Yes.
644 billion shillings should have been a 10% contribution.
Yes.
Now, simple mathematics.
Yes.
644 is more than 500.
Correct.
There's no way 644 can be a 10% contribution.
Correct.
In mchango.
Correct.
And 500 billion is a 90% contribution to the same Harambee.
Correct. Correct.
Are you sure, Jimmy? Are you sure that we paid 644 billion? Because if we indeed paid 644 billion, then we are the ones who paid 90%.
No, we didn't pay 90%. We paid over 100%.
Essentially,
over 100%.
Essentially, it means we could have built this railway without that money.
Yes, we didn't need a loan.
Without Exim Bank.
Yes.
We didn't need it. If we could fork out
in fact, we could have built it all the way to Kisumu without a loan.
Is it captured elsewhere in the Auditor General's report of those years?
No.
644 billion shillings.
No. Well, it is. It is self-raising finance. It's put there, self-raising finance. As I keep telling you, people are not doing the math. You just need to calculate.
So
I'll give you all the documents.
In the Auditor General's reports, if you do the total, from the Auditor General's report, 644 billion will appear.
Yes.
As our self-raising finance.
I will show you. You'll see it very clearly. I've got zip files. I'll give them to you. These are documents, and we made sure we have downloaded them. This is just simple math. People are not doing math here. We have a big problem. Simple math. And you're asking why we have problems. You're asking why we have problems. We are saying conservatively, over 700 billion shillings has been put in somebody's pocket. You see this expressway? It cost about 100 billion shillings.
Yeah, should have been 8.
When I look at it, right, because it's a PPP by China Road and Bridge.
Yeah.
Guaranteed by Kenyans.
Yes.
That is just money laundering of our money.
How?
But if you have been paid over 700 billion above your cost,
you need to bring it back.
You just bring it back to wash it.
What did you just say?
And you legitimize it.
You've connected the two now?
Yes. You wash it.
A step back. I want to be very sure. This
Eric,
644.
Please, sorry.
Okay, you asking.
Wait. This 644, let's say that the 644, right? Remove the 10% from that 644. Oh, you're not?
No, why?
Okay. 644 on its own.
Is 10% is what is
supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
It's and supposed to be.
I'll tell you the wording exactly from the National Treasury.
Okay.
National Treasury grant, Kenya Railways, self-raising finance.
Okay.
Contribution.
Understood.
That's all.
The 10%. Got it. Now, what you're saying is that this money has found its way round to yet another project that was overpaid in Kenya, and that's a way to launder.
In fact, it hasn't been overpaid. You see, for this expressway, we never paid from our shillings. We only paid our shillings. Our tax revenue paid for what were called some of the works down there. I don't know. NMS was doing some works,
3 billion,
which was also looted to a very large extent, according to the numbers we are seeing. But the actual construction of the expressway, right, was so-called an investment by China Road and Bridge
to be recouped,
estimated at about 100 billion shillings, to be recouped over 20-something years.
27 years.
What you may not know is that it's also guaranteed by the Kenya government.
Yeah.
Right?
If we don't use the road, our taxes pay. Okay.
Now, here we go. 100 billion is, if you've made 700 billion, what is 100 billion? Yeah, now you're cleaning it. Are we together? Are we on the same page, Lou?
We are.
Okay, good. Now, this, you see, unless you understand the concept of all this as a massive crime scene of monies that are unimaginable to most of us, okay, you will not get to the crux of this problem. If you think it's an issue of the president flying to France like he's going this week, and that's a big thing because he's using money, that's nothing. That is nothing. We have a very big problem here. And it's a problem loaded on us, right, of so-called a shortage that we are not going to envisage for the next 60 years that we are carrying today. Right? It is slavery around our necks.
So
okay? We will never come out of this.
I hear what you're
I've now given you just 2 examples.
Yeah. And okay, obviously,
all right, I gave you Eurobond.
Yeah.
I've given you this, and we are still trying to cover the 6.5.
And obviously, from what you're saying,
we're not there yet.
Jimmy, then there's a possibility that there are other things like this which is
very many. No, we have them all.
We have to hit 6.5 trillion.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point.
We've only done like a billion.
Yes.
1.6 now.
Yes.
The question is, when you're telling us these things, they're hitting us in the face, blow after blow. But then I have to ask that why has this not come out before? Why has it not come out with the details, that you're giving? Because I would, if anybody were in a position of the legislature, for example, who is supposed to be asking these questions once they've been flagged by these two offices of the COB and the AG, Auditor General, and would ask these questions as, well, where did this money go? The legislature then is the one who's supposed to pick up the baton and say, excuse me, where is this going? So why have we not heard this? Why is it not being exposed? Because this is exposure par excellence in terms of what is exactly happening.
The one thing that I think you must also not avoid is your also as the media's responsibility in this. We can blame Parliament. The Kenyan public choose those parliamentarians, so they should blame themselves, not the parliamentarians. We elect a president. We should blame ourselves because he didn't do his homework and he's telling us now he can't meet his promises. We have constitutional office holder called the Auditor General and the Controller of Budget. The Controller of Budget I watched last week before the Dialogue Committee in Yakango is somebody who is crying for help. You could see she's crying for help. She's singing. I mean, who knows how many offices she has not sung in? Who knows who is not visiting her office and telling her, you better just sign this thing.
She's telling
this thing may sweep you long before you do whatever. She is crying for help, even media help, and you don't get it. The only thing you get out of all she said was she's talking about her salary being twice, because maybe that's all you understand. Her salary being posted twice. That is not the problem. It's nothing. The big problem is what she said. We are fulizing to go and drink at the bar. She's crying for help. And even the media is not listening. So I think we all need, as Kenyans, to take responsibility. Right? We can't shove it to one side or the other. We must take responsibility. Because this pain is going to continue. It is not ending. And let me give it graphically, because this is another figure I would have liked to have brought up earlier. Graphically to our lives going forward. Because of so much money going to debt. Every time our exchange rate is dropping, the same COB has said 1 shilling increases debt by 40 billion shillings. Drop. A shilling drop. 40 billion. That is never going to end. It's increasing by the day. On top of that, just to show you how it directly comes to our lives, with something called mafuta. Mafuta. One of the things that CT's friend brought up was a formula called LC for the purchase of mafuta. I know he's CT's friend.
Nice.
Right? Said, in order to stop the slide of the shilling, right? There is this big demand for mafuta dollars every month of $500 billion that goes out. Right? We have now done what is called credit facility forward, 6 months. Right? So after 6 months, we pay. The greatest thing about that CT is that at least we can sort of predict the fuel price. Right? Because I can tell you it has now very little to do with the spot price. Right? So what we took in March at a spot price of $82, right? The shilling was at 127. We are paying in September. The spot price was 80. It had gone down. But the fuel price increased to us at the pump. Why? Because of the exchange loss. All right? So in September, the shilling was 153. Not 153. Sorry, in
September.
In March,
it was 120.
March it was 139. Now, yes, this is actually from EPRA. EPRA had estimated in September. You guys are busy talking about 150 now. EPRA, if you see its sheet that it brought out on price changes, they estimated the dollar at 153. Right? That's a difference of 13.64. That is taken to us at the pump. All right? Okay? The following month, we are paying April. April was, the dollar was 138. The estimated in October we are paying April, 6 months. So March to September, April, October, right? May, November, unaona?
Yeah.
Mpaka March next year. Then we've taken a new contract, right? So March next year, April next year, we'll be paying what we have taken in September this year. You look at the exchange rate variation. So you can estimate the appreciation every month. All right? Are we together, City? Okay? Because the dollar exchange loss is passed on to us at the pump. Okay? So it was 211, right? Because of exchange loss, it goes to 222. They said they're giving us stabilization, came to 217.
217.
All right? Higher. What do you think is going to be this month? This month, we are paying what we took in May. In May, the dollar was at 141. The estimate this month is that in November, when we come to pay, I think next week, it's going to be at 159. All right? That's a difference of 17.86.
To the dollar.
To the dollar. The pump price is 217. It'll be interesting to see how they maneuver away from a price of 230. All right? And you can extrapolate this all the way until September next year. So mambo ya mafuta, okay, is sealed until September next year. And people are crying about mafuta. All I can tell you is that it will keep appreciating.
It will go up.
It will keep going up every single month. Mpaka it will reach 300 and beyond. So when Moses Kuria said every month, every 10 shillings, he was even being conservative. And why is our shilling dropping?
Quote my friend again.
Why is our shilling dropping? Where is all our money going?
So why is it dropping?
Where is all our money going?
To paying debt?
Yes.
It is.
We're not producing.
Well, at 70%,
yes.
In terms of everything
we're
you
not
get,
producing.
70% goes towards the payments of debt.
Correct.
If we look at the latest numbers, and we're looking at about 15% then going towards recurrent expenditure.
Correct.
And then you only have about 12% left that's then supposed to go towards everything else that the country needs.
Including county.
Absolutely.
Of these debts, of what percentage are domestic?
50%. 56% here. But no, 54. We're under Ghana. Ghana was 56%.
That's for 54.
Yeah.
And that one is denominated in Kenya shillings.
Yes.
But the other 46 is what's killing us because it's dominated on the dollar.
Yes. But of that, right, it's not the bilateral ones.
The commercial ones.
It is the commercial ones. These trade and development can tell you 5 billion.
18?
5 billion. Yeah, those are crazy. Those 5 billion, the euro bonds, those are the ones killing us. Those ones, high interest rate, high rate, those are the ones killing us. If you look at what came from the bilaterals, World Bank, IMF, and so on, it's, those are affordable. Those are probably about 12%. Those are affordable. It's these others that were taken, we don't know what they went for.
These percentages.
We don't know what they went for.
The big commercial ones.
Yes.
The moment you're dealing with the billions, even if someone said 2%, it's a lot of money. The
Correct.
moment you go to 2 digits, you're talking 10.
Correct.
It's a colossal amount of money.
Correct. It's this. You see, we are paying a loan and we funded the project from our pocket and beyond. This is the problem.
I'm still stuck on that, Jimmy. We have paid 644 billion
from our pocket, from taxes.
From our taxes.
Yes.
Towards SGR.
Yes. For a construction of 475 billion.
So we even paid more.
Yes.
And yet we still took a loan of 5 billion.
Yes.
For what?
This money, 644, would have taken the rail, even with all this elaborate building, all the way to Malaba, to Kisumu and Malaba. With our money. We didn't even need a loan. I was doing it for 55, but I was not going up in the sky. Right? That's what I'm trying to say. If we do not address this massive theft, this crime scene called the treasury, I can assure you there's no amount of taxes, there's no amount of beating us on our heads that is going to solve this. There's no stabilization, because I hear the government say, we have stabilized. They've stabilized nothing. Look at the exchange rate. Look at cost of living. There's nothing stable here. Look at debt. They're taking more debt. If they were stable, why would they be taking double the debt that Uhuru even took last year? Right. They have not stabilized anything.
You know, the question is going to come at you, Jimmy, and I think also necessary for you to clarify, is that would you go into digging all of this had you been the one who got the contract to then be able to do this work? Then we would not have heard about any other uncovering of anything that might be going on in government.
You see, the key thing you need to understand is that I am a businessman. A businessman, right, does not operate on the basis of theft. That's criminality, right? So you look at return. I had done a project that was pure business, right? We are investing. I'm not taking tax revenue, right? I'm taking an asset, right, under a project called PPP, enhancing it in a partnership. Kenya Railways, you own this valuable land, right? Come and be a shareholder. We are investing. We even had a company that was going to do the rolling stock and the management. And I was seeing a return. It was like a real estate project. Right? You build and you just sit back and enjoy the rent coming in. For the next, and 7.5 years, I had a return. No tax revenue, but I create greater efficiency.
Sure.
Right? At the time we were talking, only 3% of cargo was going by rail on RVR. Everybody was on the roads. Now we are going to provide something cheaper, okay, more efficient, and get traffic back on the rail, cargo traffic. That's what we were doing, right? Cheaper than roads.
So
we were coming in cheaper.
By the time these two contracts were being signed in 2012,
yes,
your project was still
online. When this was being signed, is when I told, by the time this was being done, I had told China Road and Bridge, I want nothing to do with this. This can't work. If you look at our feasibility study, which I've got here, it was all about a private project. Now it has been turned into a government project. This can't work. You can't do the feasibility, technical, and then come to do the contracts. The government didn't even do its own feasibility study. I said, this is just a whitewash. It will never pass any bar of recognition. It won't pass a court, won't pass what. And that's what the Court of Appeal said. How do you do all this? It's contrary to, I can't remember the section in the Constitution, that you do a project in inception, right, to everything, and then say, here is the bill. It's like your contractor, right? It's like your contractor telling you, I'm buying the land for you, I'm building the house for you, I'm the BQ, I'm the quantity surveyor, I'm the one who signed all the certificates, I'm the architect, right? Here's the bill. And you have no other way of checking. That's what happened here.
Hey, Jimmy. Okay. You just go.
CT, what is it? You look
Send
tired.
us those documents. We need to look at those documents. Share those documents that you've said you have, Jimmy. All right? And then, let everybody look at them. And then you have a conversation again. But thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Jimmy Wanjege, businessman, politician, has been our guest for the last 2 hours. It's been heavy. You have a lovely day. It's 10 a.m. See you next time.
Thank you very much.